It's all plastic, but when I'm with him, I'm gold. Oh my god. Ew. Ew. Oh my god. Ew. I love ethical vandalism. Hey, thank you for clicking on the video. My name is Kaylee, and this is Read, Rant, Review, where, you guessed it, I read books and I do rant reviews. Today we're going to be talking about Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. This book was published in 2016 and currently, as of filming, December 23rd, 2024, it is sitting at a 3.77 with 460,000 ratings on Goodreads. This book was also nominated in 2016 for the Reader's Choice, romance thing. Y'all are crazy for that, but that's okay. If you are unfamiliar with what the book is about two people who started as pen pals in the 5th grade, and then they just maintained being pen pals throughout their life. And this is about them finally meeting when they're 18 years old and they're seniors in high school. I hate reading about people in high school, it turns out. I am 28 years old. Penelope Douglas is 14 years older than I am. Do not understand obsession with writing about barely legal people. In addition to that, it's kind of advertised as a bully romance, it's like a dark romance and he's a bully. I don't understand how people read bully romances and think it's hot. Before we get into the book and doing the review itself, I do have the same 3 disclaimers that I provide on all of these types of videos. The first one being, this review is not for Penelope Douglas. It's not for friends, fans, family stans, anything like that. I will be critical of this book and Penelope Douglas as an author. Turn back now if she's one of your auto buys or whatever, or if you really, really enjoy this. Just know that I'm coming from a place of criticism when I talk about this. I will give credit where credit is due, and I will highlight aspects of the book that I really enjoyed, but overall, it will be a negative toned video. The second disclaimer is that this review will contain all of the spoilers. I will be doing a chapter by chapter, beat by beat breakdown of this book. So if you're actually interested in reading it, I'll catch you in the next one. The final disclaimer is a trigger warning or content warning, and I will read you what they have on their website. Trigger warnings: violent and bullying behavior, homophobia. Yeah, the F slur is said 6 times in this book. Reference to sexual blackmail, body shaming, depression, an off-page death of a sibling, and reference to SA. Anyone who believes such content may upset them is encouraged to consider their well-being when choosing whether to continue reading. There you go. That really kind of covers most of it. It's just a lot of bullying and violence toward the main female character, which I hate. The one other bit of housekeeping that I wanted to get out of the way is my videos are on Spotify now. So if you're listening to this on Spotify, hey! Or if you would like to start listening to my videos on Spotify, there's a link in the description box below. Now, regarding this book, there is a playlist shared at the beginning of it. I just want to set the tone. I want you guys to be on the same page. There's also a Pinterest board, which I'll do a little video of me scrolling through the Pinterest board so you again can understand the vibe in which we are going for in this book. I will also share a screenshot of what the playlist is, but I will read it off to you as well. We have songs from Theory of a Dead Man, Linkin Park, All American Rejects, Eminem, Avril Lavigne, Bring Me the Horizon. And the last song on the playlist is Wildest Dreams by Taylor Swift. I don't think a single romance author can have a book without a Taylor Swift song in the playlist. The final thing before we get into actually telling this story is at the very end there is a note from the author. I genuinely really wish that Penelope would have put the note from the author at the beginning of the book. I think it would have changed the way that I would have perceived this situation, the way that I would have interpreted the characters a lot better had I have had this in mind. So I'm sharing it with you now so that you can go into this review keeping this in mind, right? Keeping this commentary from Penelope in mind. The note from the author. Punk 57 was a different book to write, and a difficult one. We romance readers can be very hard on our heroines. We often see ourselves in those roles and compare their decisions to the decisions we would have made instead. We tend to judge them more harshly than we do heroes because we hold them to the same expectations we hold ourselves. This is why many heroines are often innocent, timid, and kind with good hearts. Seeing those women find their power is a fun journey. They're easy to love. Ryan, who is the main female character in this book, Ryan with an E by the way, R-Y-E-N, on the other hand, was not, especially in the first few chapters. Knowing this, of course, I was very scared. I only hoped you'd stick around with her long enough to see her come around and eventually be proud of her. Ryan's need for recognition, adoration, and inclusion echoes with all of us. We see it all the time. No kid wants to be different. They want to belong. They desire the approval of others, and they, most often, aren't yet mentally strong enough to be able to stand alone. As we get older, though, most of us develop that capability. We learn that nothing feels better than truly loving yourself, even if it means those around you do not. We joyously find that we just don't give a damn anymore, and it feels pretty great. But most of us have done things, unfair things, in the name of self-preservation. That's the story I wanted to tell. Ryan hating who she was, trying to be different, and trying to find a way for people to finally see her, but then discovering that she hates herself even more. Lying to yourself never moves you forward. Thank you for reading. Thank you for hopefully finishing the story. And to anyone out there who might have related to what some of the characters went through, just remember, it gets better, you are important, and you can't be replaced. Hang on, you'll find your tribe. I love that sentiment. I'm not going to lie, right? I, again, really wish that I would have known that before I went into the book. Because Ryan ultimately is a very unlikable character, as you guys will come to find out here shortly. But it's understandable because I do think we all kind of sell ourselves out a little bit for the approval of other people. Maybe not to the extent in which Ryan does in this. I don't think that her behavior is excusable or okay in any way. But, and it makes me feel better that Penelope Douglas was aware of that, right? And did it intentionally so. That kind of paints my interpretation of the book a little differently. With that being said, I don't think that there's anything else to note for this book. I think we can just get right into it. So starting with chapter 1, we open with Misha. Misha is our main male character, and he is reading a letter that he got from Ryan, the main female character. The first year, we were required to write each other as part of a 5th grade project, pairing students in her class with students in mine. But after the school year ended, we didn't stop. Even though we live less than 30 miles from each other and have social media now, we continue to communicate this way because it keeps it special. So they've just continued writing letters, and he uses them as inspiration for songs, song lyrics. He is in a band. He is I believe, the bassist or the lead guitarist and singer. And so he is constantly rereading these for inspiration from her. They talk about lyrics quite a bit. There's a couple of songs that get performed in here, and you get to read the lyrics of their songs, and it's sure is something. But in that same vein, he is getting harassed. He's getting a bunch of phone calls from his bandmates because he's supposed to show up to this party and he's late. They are throwing this party to raise some money so that they can go on tour that summer. So they're like, hey, dude, you're kind of like a big deal. You need to be here. He's from Thunder Bay, right? And then Thunder Bay is 30 minutes away from Falcon's Well. Dude, these names are crazy. He's in Thunder Bay. She's in Falcon's Well. In the middle of the two towns, on the same road that connects the two towns, there's an abandoned factory. It used to be like a shoe factory, like a shoemaking factory or something. Totally empty now. A bunch of parties get thrown there and a bunch of like concerts and performances, and just like, it's kind of the little hangout, grungy hangout spot. So he's on his way over there, and he sees his little sister, Annie, jogging on the side of the road. Annie is a year younger than him. She's 17. She is the classic overachieving 4.14 GPA in all the extracurriculars. She the little league softball coach and just all around good girl, right? Good person. So she's running on the side of the road. He pulls over and he's like, yo, what the like, you're not wearing reflective gear, you've got headphones on, like, so much for safety, like, you look like serial killer candy is the term that he uses. He's like, get in the truck, dude. She says, no, my car's right up there on the road, like, I'll run to the car and then I'll go home. He follows along with her on the road as she runs to her car, and then she asks him to pick her up some, like, root beer and candy on his way home because he's not going to be at the party for very long. Like, she knows that he's not going to. He says, okay, sure, Annie, whatever, and drives away. He gets to this party. It's packed. They're vibing. It's a good time. Part of the gimmick for that night was that people, like, paid money to get in, and then they would do a scavenger hunt. So get a picture of a 6-person pyramid, get a picture of a man with lipstick on, get a picture of you kissing a stranger, and then some of the tasks get a little dirtier, and they just get a little weirder. And they're supposed to take the pictures, upload them on Instagram, tag the band, and then whoever, I don't know, does it the best or something, they'll pick a winner to win something. He says, I forget what they win. I wasn't paying attention. So I'm like, thanks, dude. That's super helpful. So he's scrolling through the band's Instagram account and kind of seeing the different things that are coming up. And there's this one girl who's like, yiddies are out. Or he's watching the video, and in the background, he hears her say, she says, Ryan! And it's female laughter. And so he gets kind of like a chill down his spine. He's like, Ryan? There's no way how many other female Ryans could there possibly be, especially in this area? And he's thinking to himself, 7 years I've known her, but I've never seen her face. If I search her out now, there's no going back. But she's here. I can't not look for her. Not when I know that she could be within arm's reach. So he clicks on the Instagram thing. He sees that Ryan is tagged. Stalks her Instagram. She's gorgeous, which he did not expect. Slender shoulders under long light brown hair, heart-shaped face with full pink lips, and a daring look in her bright blue eyes. Glowing skin and a beautiful body. From what I can see, anyway. I let my head fall back and draw in a breath. Fuck you, Ryan Trevorrow. She lied to me. She didn't lie exactly, but I damn well got the impression from her letters that she didn't look like that. I'd pictured a geek in glasses with purple streaks in her hair, dressed in a Star Wars t-shirt. But instead, she's just a little basic Beezy who's very cute, and he doesn't know what to do with those feelings. And so he continues to think to himself, please don't let this be her. Please just be a sweet, socially awkward, shy, and everything I've loved for 7 years. Don't complicate it by being hot. But it's all there. Every clue confirming that it's Ryan. My Ryan. So he goes to the bar to try and find her with the decision in his mind, like, I will meet her tonight. Like, she's a little hottie-tottie. He doesn't have to look for her very hard because her friend actually approaches him and she says, hey, she needs a kiss. Like, for her little scavenger hunt thing. Oh my God. And then her friend disappears. So it's just the two of them, Ryan and Misha. A cool sweat breaks down the back of my neck and I look at Ryan, both of us locked in an awkward silence. Why doesn't she say anything? She has to know who I am. Of course, she doesn't know I formed a band recently because I wanted to surprise her with an actual old school demo tape for our graduation in a few months, but it's damn near impossible to be invisible these days. Our names and pictures are on our Instagram page and the rack of cards by the entrance. Is she f***ing around with me? She has no idea it's him. Like, literally no idea. She continues to talk about this scavenger hunt thing, and he remains silent, getting a little pissed off that she's acting clueless. She's like, okay, awkward, never mind, and turns to walk away. And Dane is one of the bandmates. I think he's also Misha's cousin, but they're in the band together. Dane sees what's happening, so he runs up and he's like, hey, and he's like, yo, what the hell? Why are you looking at her like that? You're being so rude. I drop my eyes, but only for a moment. Does she really not know who I am? I guess there would be plenty of people here who haven't heard of us. We're not a big deal, and this is probably the only thing going on in a 50-mile radius. So why wouldn't she be here, if only because there's nothing else to do? Maybe she has no fucking clue she's standing right in front of Misha Lair right now, the boy she's been writing letters to since she was 11. Yeah, freak. Just tell her who you are. Why are you making it weird? So they go on to do some of the other things that she has on her to-do list, like, it's like picture of a picture. They have to, like, eat a marshmallow, like Lady in the Tramp style. It's kind of cute. They're, like, all up in each other's grill, and he is just almost to I thought this was going to go to a stalker level of book. Her thin fingers, which have written me 582 letters. The chin where I know she uses makeup to cover up a small scar that she got from a fall during ice skating when she was 8. The hair, she told me she ties back every night because she says that there's no hell worse than waking up with your hair in your mouth. Okay, weird. So he goes on to try and talk to her. Finally, and then he says, I'm not going to say the word. I'll just show you my phone, okay? And you'll understand. But it's not needed, right? Like, oh, don't look at my nails. I used green nail polish and now I can't get it off, so now I look like a little grimy grubby. But anyway, yeah, you see, like, that word? There's no point for that. Well, I don't even know why you would write that. It's not, like, it's literally just all by itself. Anyway, they continue having a chat, and his phone keeps buzzing, and it's Annie, and he ignores it. Because he's like, I'm about to get laid. He's like, I'm finally talking to the girl of my dreams. And so they're making small talk, and he's asking if she has a boyfriend. She says, no, I'm not looking for one either. I had one once, and you have to bathe and feed them and walk them. So what happened? Dane asks her. She shrugs. I'd lowered my standards. Too low, apparently. After that, I got picky. Does any man measure up? One. But I've never met him. Oh, she's talking about Misha. How cute. She goes to leave, and he snaps, like, a selfie of them together for the very last thing on her to-do list. Before pulling away and saying goodbye, I inhale her scent, frozen for a moment as I smile to myself. You're really gonna hate me, Angel, when we finally do meet someday and you put this all together. Ew. So when she walks away, he pulls his phone out and he sees that he has missed calls from his sister. And when he tries to call back, the line is dead. In chapter 2, it's 3 months later from Ryan's perspective, and Misha has completely ghosted her, stopped writing her letters entirely, and she just has no idea what is going on. He never gave any justification, never said anything, just fell off the face of the earth, which has never ever happened before in the 7 years that they've been pen pals. So we open with one of the letters that she's currently writing, and she's worried about him. She's like, I hope you're having fun wherever you are, douchebag, but seriously, don't be dead, okay? She gives some notes on some lyrics. She gives him like an update on college and what she's doing in her life, and also kind of reflecting on some feelings that she's having. I'm afraid, to be honest. I keep thinking things won't be any different at college. I still don't know what I want to do. I won't be any more confident or sure about my decisions. I'll still pick the wrong friends and date the wrong guys. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me you're too busy to keep this up, or that we're getting too old to be pen pals, but just tell me one last time that you believe in me and that everything's going to be fine. The shit always sounded better coming from you. I don't miss you, not even a little, Ryan. We also learn a little bit more about their pen pal ship. When we first began writing each other years ago, it was a complete mistake. Our 5th grade teachers tried to pair up our classes as pen pals according to sex to make it more comfortable. But his name is Misha and my name is Ryan, so his teacher thought I was a boy and my teacher thought he was a girl, etc. She's thinking to herself, she's like, I could Google him. Like, if I'm so worried about him, I could just look him up. I have his name, I have his address, but we promised each other, or rather, I made him promise. Seeing each other where we live, meeting the people the other talks about in their letters, it'll ruin the world that we created. Right now, Misha Lair, with all of his imperfections, is perfect in my head. He listens, pumps me up, takes off the pressure, and has no expectations of me. He tells the truth, and he's the one place I've never had to hide. She continues, looking around her room and doing some reflection, and we get more and more insight about Ryan and her psyche. She's looking at this one particular picture of herself from when she was in like the 4th grade, and she's all by herself on this bench, and she remembers how it felt like I was at a party that I wasn't invited to, which is so sad. This book did a really good job at explaining that feeling of otherness. Like, if you have ever been exiled at school for some reason, or like just not in the like in crowd, if you haven't had friends at school, this does such a good job at like portraying those feelings, and that kind of like, I don't know, it's like this weird cloud that you kind of carry with you for the rest of your life, in a weird way. And it's this like fear of not rejection necessarily, but of being alone and left out and like not good enough to be in crowds or to be like accepted into these like friend groups. And it's this weird fear and this pain that kind of like ebbs at you every now and then. It does a very, very beautiful job at expressing that emotion, and that was one of the things that I liked about it. And I liked about Ryan was this internal, I don't know, like turmoil almost that she carries, but she turns into a bitch, so don't get too comfortable with this. She lives at home with her mom and her sister. It literally serves no purpose. I don't know. Point being, though, is she does not have a dad. Like, her dad is not in the picture whatsoever. And her mom also works a lot and travels a lot, and so it's like literally just her older sister and her at the house quite a bit. So she sneaks out that night to go and hang out with her friends, and she gets into the car with Lila, who's on the cheerleading team with her and is like her closest friend, quote unquote, and 10. 10 stands for Theodore Edward Nielsen, but he just goes by 10. We're introduced to like a whole slew of characters. There's those two. There's JD, who is Lila's boyfriend, and then Trey, who is Ryan's boyfriend. Pretty much like the main clique that we need to be aware of, right? Is Ryan, Lila, 10, Trey, and JD. And so they are off to an abandoned, it's called The Cove. It's like an abandoned amusement park that got shut down a couple of years ago. And they go out there to go and like cause trouble. And on the way there, Lila is giving Ryan a hard time about not hooking up with Trey and not like giving him what he wants. Ew. Ryan is thinking to herself, is that a warning? I peer at her out of the corner of my eye, feeling my heart start to race. What are you going to do, Lila? Sweep in and take him from under me if I don't put out? Delight in my loss when he gets tired of waiting and screws someone else? Is he doing someone else right now? Maybe you? I fold my arms over my chest. Don't be concerned about me, I say, toying right back. When I'm ready, he'll come running, no matter whom he's killing time with. Damn, okay, these, like, catty bitches, dude. That's one of my other main complaints about this book is, like, every single female in this, like, there are no healthy female relationships. Like, sleeping with each other's boyfriends, like, stabbing each other in the back, like, just being absolute horrible people to each other. And it's just icky. I'm not a big fan of that at all. Lila and I are both brats, but we're very different. She craves attention from men, and she'll almost always give them what they want, confusing shallow affection for real feelings. Sure, she's dating Trey's friend JD, but it wouldn't surprise me to see her go after Trey too. Winning a guy makes her feel above us all. They have girlfriends, but they want her. It makes her feel powerful, until she realizes they want anyone, and then she's right back to where she started. Me, on the other hand, I'm weak. I just want to get through the day as easily as possible, no matter whom I step on to do it. Yikers to that. Something I learned not long after that picture of me sitting alone on that bench was taken. Now I'm not alone anymore, but am I happier? The jury's still out on that. Reap, 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 you don't even know. All you did suffer is what you did sow, is lyrics from Misha that she's thinking to herself. Again, on their way to the cove, though, there's some banter back and forth, and we're on Old Point Road between Thunder Bay and Falcon's Well. I turn my head over my shoulder, speaking to Ten. People die everywhere, but not so young, he says, shifting uncomfortably in his seat. Poor kid. A few months ago, a jogger named Anastasia Grayson, who was only a year younger than us, was found dead on the side of this very road. She had a heart attack, although I'm not sure why. Like Ten said, it's unusual for someone so young to die like that. I'd written to Misha about it, to see if he knew her since they lived in the same town, but it was one of the many letters that he never responded to. So they get to the Cove parking lot, and there's a truck over in the corner. It's a black truck, kind of off to the side. But they ignored it, and they press on. They sneak past the gates and the padlocks, and they go into this amusement park, and it's this whole scene. I don't know, dude. Some of them are crawling onto the Ferris wheel to go and do that. 10 and Ryan are going around doing some other stuff. Eventually, Trey comes up behind her and is like, hey, are you going to let me take you home? And she's thinking to herself, I can't say no to him. I know what happened to the last girl that said no to him. So she's just trying to play it off and be coy and keep, like, pushing off doing stuff with him. Oh my God. They're not actually dating, but they're kind of dating, and he's, like, really pursuing her, but it's very just, he's a very icky dude. So in an attempt to continue to keep him off of her case, she's like, hey, if you catch me, you can take me home. He closes his eyes, he counts to 20, and her and 10 take off to go and try and find a hiding spot. They end up in the service tunnels under the amusement park. As they're running through these service tunnels, they hear Trey come behind them. So they dive into a room off to the side. They hear something. They hear something kind of weird. So they turn on the flashlights on their cell phones, and it's a room that somebody's, like, staying in. Like, there's a bed, there's an iPod that has music actively playing. There's, like, letters and notes and notebooks and a whole bunch of stuff all over the place. So they're like, holy shit, I guess they did hire security guards. Like, this must be where the security guard is staying. Like, we have to get out of here. And she's flipping through one of the notebooks, and she finds this one page, and she rips it out and puts it in her pocket. What does this page say, you ask? What was so important that she felt the need to, like, damage somebody else's property and steal? It says, anything goes when everyone knows. Where do you hide when their highs are your lows? So much, so hard, so long, so tired. Let them eat until you're ground into nothing. Don't you worry your glossy little lips. What they savor eventually loses flavor. I want to lick while you still taste like you. And then they, like, look up at the wall. Alone, like the word alone, all caps, like, spray painted onto this wall. Very, very creepy. And as they try to leave, JD and Trey and Lila appear in the hallway. And she's, like, caught. And they're like, okay, guys, like, we need to go, though. Like, this is really creepy. Like, this is not good. Like, this guy is around here. We have to leave. So they make a run for it out of the tunnels. But she can still sense something. Like, she feels like they're being watched. That's horrifying. We're in chapter 3. We're still in Ryan's perspective, and she's at school the next day. And somebody has been vandalizing the school at night. Like, they've been writing different messages in various places, and it's getting weirder and weirder. And so every day it's almost like a game to see what the punk wrote. The punk is how they, like, sign off on all of their graffiti that they do. The school has been vandalized 22 times in the last month. Today makes 23. Well, I say, hooking my bag over my shoulder and slamming my locker door shut. With the cameras going in the hallways and covering every entrance soon, I'm sure he or she will either wise up and quit or get caught. Their days are numbered. I hope he gets caught, Caitlin says. I want to know who it is. The message that the punk wrote that day was, FYI, your mom wouldn't date your dad if she could make that choice again. And then she starts to have a asthma attack, and she's very weird about having asthma. Like, she doesn't want anybody to know. And so she waits for everybody to go to class, and then she pulls out, she has like her inhaler in her spandex under her like cheerleading skirt. And so everybody's like looking away, and she like kind of ducks down and like takes like a huff of her inhaler. She's such a freak about it. Who cares if you have asthma? What is happening? And then she goes to her art class. Her art class is her first period, and she's a little bit late, but the teacher's not in the room, so it's fine. But the teacher's not there, and Trey is crashing her class. I don't know why is he not in his first period? I don't know, but he's sitting next to her, flirting with her and asking her to go to prom and whatnot. And as she goes to answer, I stop. Seeing someone enter the room, a guy walks in, his tall form strolling across the classroom and up the aisle toward us. I don't breathe. He looks familiar, but where do I know him from? He carries nothing, no backpack, books, or even a pencil, and takes a seat at the empty table across the aisle from mine. I glance around for Miss Till, the teacher, wondering what's going on. Whoever he isn't in this class, but he just walked in as if he's been here. Is he new? And then we get our first instance of the F slur being used. There is a young emo goth kid named Manny Cortez. Manny Cortez sits in front of Ryan in class, and Trey decides to bully him, like they bully him regularly, and she just giggles at him, like giggles at the situation. And it is just infuriating. I cannot imagine. I know this is the whole part of like, oh, like we can't judge a 17-year-old. Yes, we can. We can totally judge a 17-year-old for bullying somebody or, like, accepting bullying. This is crazy, dude. Like, she's such a bitch for this. And so she makes a joke at Manny's expense about them going to prom together. Trey and his friend keep laughing, but it's all focused on the weak kid now. And I can't help but feel a sliver of satisfaction. The other feelings are there, too. The guilt, the disgust at myself, the pity for Manny, and how I used him just now. But I amused Trey and now Manny, and any shame I feel are far below where I sit. I look down at it. I know it's there, but it's like seeing ants from an airplane. I'm in the clouds, too high for what's on the ground to be much of concern. Trey makes a joke how, like, Manny, like, doesn't even like girls. I force a half smile, shaking my head at him and hoping he'll shut up now. Manny served a purpose. I don't want to torture him. Manny is 90 pounds at most, and with hair so black it's almost blue, and a face so pale and smooth that, with the right colors, he could easily pass for a girl. Eyeliner, black nail polish, skinny jeans, cracked and dirty Converse sneakers, check to all. He and I have gone to school together since kindergarten, and I still have the heart-shaped eraser he gave me with a Valentine's Day card in the 2nd grade. I was the only one who got one from him. No one knows about that, and not even Misha knows why I kept it. Okay, so you're just a total fucking bitch, is what I'm hearing. Trey continues to bully Manny, and throwing papers at the back of his head and making jokes about him going to prom with his boyfriend. Trey tosses another paper, harder this time, and the F slur is used. And when the F slur gets used, I wince. Jesus. But then in a flash of movement, the new kid reaches over the table and grabs the back of Manny's chair, and I watch, stunned, as he pulls the chair with Manny in it back to his table and places himself between the emo kid and us. Then he quickly reaches over, grabs Manny's sketchbook and box of pencils, and dumps them on his workplace, in front of his new table partner. My heart races, but I lock my jaw, trying to appear less shaken than I am. Oh my god. Does nothing! Doesn't correct Trey's behavior at all. Just sits there and just watches this poor freaking dude Trey finally leaves, gives up on bullying, just walks out in the middle of class, because I guess they can do that at this high school too. And so she stays there, drawing a picture for Misha, designing his first album cover as a surprise graduation gift. Not that he has to use it. I wouldn't expect him to, but I think he'll get a kick out of it. Something to motivate him. Of course, I don't want Trey to see it and ask about it. He'll just make a joke of something that I love. No one knows about Misha Lair. Not even Lila. He's mine and too hard to put into words. I don't even want to try. Later that same day at lunchtime, she's eating with her friends, all the people that I rattled off before, and the new kid walks in, and he sits at a table all by himself, and everybody's checking him out, right? He's this bigger dude, he's all tatted, he just looks like trouble. And so their first assumption is, oh, I wonder if he's the guy doing the vandalism. And they're like, that doesn't even make any sense. He just got here. And Ryan is thinking to herself, I don't want him taking the fall for something that I know he hasn't done. And Trey talks about how he can sneak into his mom's office, his stepmom is the principal, and how he can sneak into his stepmom's office, find Mason's, I keep wanting to call him Manson, find Mason's file, and they can figure out if he's homeless or not. I'm like, what the fuck, you weirdos? They also keep talking about how he hasn't talked. Like, he's been there all day, and nobody has heard him say a single word. And so Ryan says, oh, I'll get him to talk. She walks over to the table. I head over to his table, a small round 4-seater on the outside of the room, and rest my ass on the edge, gripping the table with my hands at my sides. The boy's eyes catch my thighs and slowly rise up my body, resting on my face. I can hear the beat of drums and guitars pounding out of his earbuds, but he just sits there, the indents between his eyebrows growing deeper. Reaching over, I gently tug out his earbuds and cast a look over my shoulder at my friends, all of them watching us. They think you're homeless, but you're not eating and you don't speak. I think you're a ghost. I give him a mischievous smile and drop the earbuds, placing my hand over his heart. His warmth immediately courses through my hand, making my stomach flip a little. Nope, scratch that. I feel a heartbeat, and it's getting faster. I remember you. You know, you were at the scavenger hunt in February at the warehouse in Thunder Bay. He still doesn't answer, and I'm starting to wonder if I have it all wrong. How do you toy with someone who won't engage? Do you like to go to the drive-in, Mason? That's your name, right? The weather's getting nice enough for it. Maybe you'd like to come with my girlfriends and me sometime? You want to give me your number? His chest caves with every exhale, and I feel my skin start to hum as he holds my eyes. His deep green pools glow with a fire I can't place. Anger, fear, desire? What the hell is he thinking, and why won't he speak? You don't like people? Or you don't like girls? Ugh. The principal yells at her and tells her to get off of the table. I turn my head to acknowledge her, but then all of a sudden hands grab my waist and pull me forward. I gasp, shocked, as I land in Mason's lap, straddling him. I like girls. He whispers in my ear, and my heart is pounding so hard it hurts. Then the tip of his tongue glides up my neck, and I am frozen, breathing a mile a minute. Heat races through my body. But you kind of taste like shit. What? Then he stands up as I tumble out of his lap, landing on the floor. I shoot my hands out, catching myself. What the hell? Laughter echoes all around me, and I dart my head around, seeing a few people at nearby tables chuckling as they stare at me. Walls close in around me, and I burn with embarrassment. I don't have to turn around to know Lila is probably smiling as well. Son of a bitch. And then I watch as Mason Laurent grabs his notebook and pen, drapes his earbuds around his neck, and walks around me, leaving the cafeteria without another word. What the hell is his problem? That wasn't the first time anyone's laughed at my expense, but it will be the last. Okay, in chapter 4, we're still in Ryan's perspective. It's the end of the day. After practice, they're going back to her locker. Her and Ten are talking, they're BSing back and forth, and Ten is like, whoa, is that your locker? I look down the hallway and I spot a pile of belongings spilling onto the floor, about right where my locker is located. Ten and I both jog to the mess, seeing my locker door hanging open and part of it bent as if someone pried it open with a crowbar. None of her stuff is gone. It's all just a mess on the floor in front of her locker. Written on the locker door in Sharpie says, empty, in all caps. I stare at it confused. What? Is a little freaked out, and she's like, okay, well, I guess I'll just report that in the morning. Super weird. And she goes home for the night. Her sister's gone, working or at her boyfriend's house or something. I don't know. It doesn't fucking matter. Genuinely, the sister does not matter. Does not add anything to the plot. But she goes home, and when she opens up her bedroom door, Mason is in her bedroom. What? Mason, the new guy, sits in my desk chair leaning back with his hands locked behind his head. I hear music and glance over at my iPod dock, seeing that he is playing Garbage's Stupid Girl. She's like, what the f***? are you doing here? He just absolutely ignores it and talks about how this is not the room that he expected her to have. Her bedroom is filled with like posters and writing. Like she has a chalkboard wall that is just like full of lyrics from Misha and poetry and random thoughts and stuff that she had. And it's very edgy, I guess, like compared to this like cheerleader persona that she has at school. So he's a little like, this is not what I thought, this is not what your bedroom would be like. She says, get out. He says, make me? How did you get in? Through the front door. So where is it? Where's what? My shit. Get out. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. You seem nervous. You think I don't like strange guys in my house, and I really don't like anyone in my room. Don't care. You took something of mine. 2 things of mine, actually, and I want them back. No, I didn't. Now get out. And he has her diary. He like has her notebook that she had under her mattress or whatever, and is pretty much holding it ransom. I grab a hold of the book, but he shoves me back and I stumble onto the bed, his body coming down on mine. I grunt and cry out, trying to get the book. He reaches for something, and then my scissors from my desk are pointing at my face. I freeze, staring at the tip. Don't worry. I won't make sure this falls into your mom's hands. I'm gonna rip out every single fucking page and plaster them all over the school. So listen loud and clear, you stupid c***. I'm done talking to you and I'm done looking at you. I want the locket and I want the piece of paper you took at the Cove. And this is a romance? He just called her the C word. He just called her a stupid C word, and this is supposed to be a romance novel? Freaking out, realizing that he was the guy at the Cove, right? That they stumbled into the bedroom, and so she pulls out the folded up piece of paper that she stole from his notebook and hands it to him. He says, now the necklace. And she realizes that 10 took the necklace, and she's like, okay, I'll get it for you. Like, I'll figure it out. I'll bring it tomorrow. Tomorrow. The parking lot after school. I'm keeping this as insurance. No, I don't trust you. What do you know, Rocks? Something we have in common. I don't trust you either. Now, don't waste any more of my time. Tomorrow. Yeah, Rocks is her new nickname. Like, dumb as a bag of rocks. He calls her a stupid C word and then starts to call her Rocks. Anyway, he goes to leave the room now that he has what he needed figured out. Which, wait, did I skip over the part where he cut her hair? Yeah, somewhere with the scissors, by the way. Like, somewhere in that, I skipped over it. He cut her hair, like an inch of her hair off, like a chunk of it, as a threat. Oh my god. Why? Anyway, so then he goes to leave the room. You know, I really do like your room. Maybe if you were more like this at school, people wouldn't talk behind your back so much. He walks out, slamming the door behind him, and my face falls. I stare at the word written on the back of my door in large chalk letters that I didn't write. Fraud. Oh my god. The next morning, she goes to 10's locker. 10 gives her the locket. He's like, yeah, sorry, it looked like an antique, so I took it. I don't know. There's not really a reason. He was just being kind of dumb. She puts it in her pocket, and she goes off to art class. She doesn't want Mason to know that she has the locket yet because she doesn't want him to take it before she has her diary back, right? So she's in the hallway before she goes into class, and she tries to pop it open to see what is in this locket. Like, why is this so important? As soon as I pop it open, I dig in my eyebrows, seeing not pictures as I expected, but a tiny folded up piece of paper. Taking it out, I unwrap it and I turn it over, reading the words. Close your eyes, there's nothing to see out here. I slow to a stop, staring at the note, saying the words to myself again. It sounds familiar, like I've heard them before, or said them, or something. The second bell rings, or 1 minute warning. I fold the paper back up, stuffing it into the locket and closing it. She goes into her art class, business as usual. After art, I head to English 4, carrying my text, oh my god, notebook and a copy of Lolita. But as soon as I step into the room, I spot him sitting in the row to the left of mine, one desk back. So now he's in her English class as well. And so goes on, like, a whole thing that I'm not going to get into. Oh, Jesus Christ, she's so f***ing annoying. I hate her so much. In English class, the teacher gives her an essay back, and he gave her, like, a D or something, and he's like, hey, you only watched the movie, like, you didn't actually read the book, you didn't actually do a book report. If you want to read Jane Eyre, you can do that, report back to me, and just, I'll replace the grade. Like, this is your one-time warning, like, whatever. He's really trying to, like, hook her up, and he's saying, I know that you're better than this. And she knows that she's better than that mentally, and that she was just, like, wanting to be cool. Back and forth with the teacher until she is, like, publicly kind of shaming him. And she's like, Why do you keep having us read books about these, like, young women that end up with old men? Are you projecting? Are you projecting, Mr. Teacher Guy? You fucking pervert, right? Is pretty much like what she's insinuating in front of this entire class. Eventually, Mason interrupts, and Mason is like, don't you like the movie Twilight? Like, I bet you loved Twilight. I bet you loved it so much you went to the movie premiere and you had a Team Edward t-shirt and blah, 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 blah. And what about Edward? Edward's a vampire. That's like a 500-year age gap, and you're into that. What, it's okay because he's hot? But what if he did look like an old man? And then he goes up to the teacher's computer and then pulls up a picture of like a 100-year-old man and makes some commentary about, like, you know, oh, this Edward's not hot anymore, huh? Like, if he shows his age or if he looks his age, you only approve of age gaps when they're hot. It's just some stupid shit that I think is supposed to be some, like, deep-ass commentary. But he ends up shaming her in front of the entire class. She gets that really, really embarrassed feeling again. And he tells her, shake your pom-poms, rocks. You just reminded all of us that love is truly only skin deep. She ends up having, like, a panic, like, anxiety attack thing that triggers her asthma attack. What the hell is wrong with me? That guy's not a threat. I can handle this. So he was challenging me. So what? Am I going to flip out every time that happens? Sooner or later, I'll leave safe Falcon's Well and I'll no longer be Queen Bee and I'm acting like a baby. But for a moment, everything went dark. Slowly, the world in my vision got smaller and smaller, like I was in a tunnel going backward. The light ahead of me, Mason, Mr. Foster, the other students became tiny as the darkness ate up the room, and I felt completely alone, just like before. Cue a flashback that she has back to 4th grade when she was feeling very alone at recess and didn't have any friends and nobody would talk to her, and she tried to be friendly with people and they just kept blowing her off or ignoring her, and it's really sad. So she ends up going inside during recess and like goes back into the classroom and meets this little girl, Delilah. Delilah asks her if she wants to color in the Eiffel Tower with her, and then she has a friend. Like, she finally made a friend. She's always nice. Why do I care so much what the other girls think? Why do I want to be friends with them? I try to be nice, but it's never good enough. But they're mean and everyone loves them. Why is that? The rest of the school day passes, and at the end of the day, she finds him in the parking lot, and he is talking to a bunch of people. Everybody's clocked the, like, hot, mysterious new guy, and she's very upset because she was like, well, if he's bullying me, like, at least he's not on anybody's radar. Like, nobody knows who he is, so it's fine. Just kidding, girly pop. Everybody's obsessed with him already, and so they all know how much of a fucking loser you really are. So she goes to bring him the locket, get her diary back. He's like, oh, sorry, I don't have it. She's like, we had a deal. He says, we did, but now I just really want to piss you off. She jumps onto the side of his car, like onto the, what is it called? Like the little step-up rail thing on the side of his truck. He has a Ford Raptor, by the way, which is an incredibly expensive truck for a freaking teenager to have, but it's his cousins who went to prison. I don't know, dude, don't ask me. So he has this, like, really nice truck. She hops up on the side of it, yelling at him, and he says, watch out, you're being judged. Mason taunts, don't choke. I step down from the cab and he puts the truck in gear again, but before he can take off, I call out, you're living in an abandoned theme park. He stops the car again and lifts his chin. I stroll up to his window, feeling a bit of my power return as I give him a small smile. I'd only be doing the compassionate thing, letting a responsible adult know about your homeless situation. Social services would come in and find out where you come from and if anyone's even looking for you. I wonder if Mason Laurent has a criminal record. Maybe that's why you're hiding out. You definitely want to stay invisible, and I'd bet money on that. If you have me picked up, you'll never get it back. I got shit to do. I'll see you tonight. Oh my god. So in chapter 5, dude, this is like the new Alani Nu flavor. This is like pink slush. Don't look at my nails. Stop judging me. It's really good. It's like 4 p.m. I do not need to be finishing off an energy drink right now. Anyway, Misha, in chapter 5, we're back into Misha's perspective. We finally get a Misha chapter again, and he is reading a letter from Ryan. And he is trying to write a letter to Ryan, but he is not having a very good time with it. Like, he's really struggling with finding the right words to say. What he does write down eventually is, I hate this. Everything fucking hurts. They weren't supposed to bury her. I shouldn't have let them. She saw a movie when she was a kid about a woman buried alive and it scared the shit out of her. She didn't want to go underground, but my father said that we needed a place to visit her, as if her wishes weren't the most important thing. I close my eyes, a wetness coating the rims of my lids. Anger churns inside of me and it flows down my arms as I carve the words into the paper. I can't write you, and when I can't send the goddamn letters. I want to hurt you. Oh my god. I don't know why. Probably because you're the only person I have left to hurt. Every letter you send that I don't answer is the only thing that makes me feel good anymore. You want the truth? That's it. It feels good to play with you like this. It gives me pleasure knowing you're thinking about me, wondering if I'm thinking about you. I'm not. I never do. Oh my God! All your letters over the years immediately went into the garbage after I read them. Didn't you see how pathetic you looked? Sending 5 letters for every one of mine? I'll bet you deluded yourself too. Did you fantasize that I kept them? Maybe with a little red bow tied neatly around the stacks as I jerk off to them? Because I love your pretty words so much? No, because after I eventually fucked you, I'd get bored. That's all that this was about. Jesus Christ. I draw in air through my nose, locking my jaw together as I press the pen into the paper. Guilt creeps in. Ryan, the liar, the poser, the superficial bitch who's no different from all the others. But then I drop my eyes, remembering Ryan, the kid who slipped $5 in a letter in 5th grade when I told her my dad took away my allowance. The girl who makes me smile when she argues about how much sausage overpowers the taste of pizza and sent me a Veggie Lovers pizza pie for my birthday to prove me wrong. She didn't. Meat Lovers is way better. The girl who gets all my movie references, knows when something's wrong, tells me everything that I need to hear and stops the world from spinning around me. Ryan, the perfect, beautiful girl who's so different from all the others. I run my hand over my forehead and through my hair, my throat tightening into a knot and my eyes burning. I put the pen to paper and scrawl what my goddamn heart can only whisper. I miss you every day, I write. You're my favorite place. This guy's a psychopath. This guy is a literal psychopath. What? This is scary. And he goes on to reflect about some of the other letters that Ryan has written him in which she was talking crap about cheerleaders and how much she hated them. Everything makes sense now. The cheerleader she talked about in her letters and everything she hated, she was talking about herself. And he continues to think, I should have just given her the book back. She'd found Annie's locket. Oh, it was his sister's locket. That's why he wanted it back so bad. And I don't want to start any shit with her, especially when she's not the reason I'm here. And I'm skipping town as soon as I get what I came for. And she and I will never have to cross paths again. He's continuing to write, and I think he ends up burning the letter. And then Dane shows up, his, cousin friend guy. They're talking back and forth, and Dane is like, hey, dude, your dad is really not doing well. He was okay after your sister passed away. He was holding it together, but now that you've moved out and, you're not talking to him, he's really, not going to work, not showing up to anything. You need to, I'm worried about him. I'm worried about you. After Annie died, I couldn't see anything beyond that. I started skipping school. I left the band. I stopped trying to have a relationship with my dad. He was destroyed losing Annie, and I went through the motions for a couple of months, sticking around, but we couldn't mourn together, and I couldn't stay to watch. He was sad. I was angry. Losing her only broke the only small link we had to each other. And my piece of shit mother never even showed up for the funeral. Every day I think about it, I get more livid. So when he left the band, Dane's like, yeah, it's cool, dude. We're just waiting for you to come back, and then we'll go on tour, and we'll have a good time again. We're being patient, letting you mourn. That's so sweet. What a nice little moment with them. And then they decide that they are going to sneak into the school. He's like, Dane, I gotta do some stuff. Do you want to come do something illegal with me? Dane's like, yeah, homie, let's go. Drives to the school, breaks into the principal's office, breaks into the principal's desk. In the bottom drawer, there's a file. Annie told me once that she mailed stuff here. And then I see it, a thick brown pocket folder labeled private with a rubber band around it. I grab it, quickly opening it and peeking inside. It's filled with pink envelopes and a small photo album, and an ache shudders through my chest as I force down the lump in my throat. Annie. Ryan isn't why I'm in Falcon's Well, but I knew I'd run into her here. It was something that I feared. She doesn't deserve my attention. Annie's all that matters. But after months of not giving a shit about anything, my family, friends, or music, having Ryan close is kind of distracting, almost in a pleasant way. So while they're at the school, right, breaks into this, steals this paper thing. He also knows that Ryan has swimming lessons that night, she's a swimming lesson instructor person. And so they go in there to return her diary to her. As they're going through, he cuts through the locker room, and Trey is in the locker room having sex with Lila. Ryan's best friend and boyfriend are banging. Oh my God. So he sees this, kind of takes a mental note of it, and he's just like, wow, that's so shitty. But he presses on. They go out to the pool, They see her teaching the kids, and he is just enamored with the way that she is handling these children and how that's the Ryan that he loved, right? Like, that's the Ryan that he's been writing letters to for 7 years, not this, like, superficial bitch that he's met in classes. I tear my eyes away, reminding myself that I don't care. I stand with Dane and wait for her to finish all the kids, and as soon as she dismisses them to their parents, I walk over to the bench where she's drying herself off. He gives her the diary back. They have a back and forth. They're kind of like a little catty to each other, but he doesn't want her to find out about Trey and Lila sleeping together, because they could still be in the locker room, right? Like, he doesn't want her to be exposed to that, because he does care a little bit, as much as he doesn't want to admit it. So he's like, hey, it's dark out, like, I'll walk you out to your car. You know, there's somebody who's, like, breaking into the school all the time and vandalizing it. Like, I don't know how safe it is. I'll walk you out. She laughs at him. You called me a cunt and cut my hair. You think I would actually trust you to protect me? Don't blink too hard for brains. You might lose your last few brain cells. I widen my eyes and every muscle in my body squeezes so tight it burns. What the fuck did she just say? Before I know what I'm doing, I sweep her up into my arms and carry her to the side of the pool and throws her in the pool. It's just such a douchebag to her. I don't understand what people are liking out of this. In chapter 6, we go back to Ryan's perspective, and she's reading the last letter that he ever sent her from February. She's trying to find a meaning in it. He had no indication, though, that he would stop writing. Like, there was nothing indicative of something or anything even happening, so she's very confused. She continues, though, trying to crack the code, and the emptiness is getting bigger and wider and deeper, and I sit on my bed. I'm not ready to start my day. Why don't I want to get up or even muster the energy to worry about what I'm going to wear? He's the only thing I look forward to, the only reason I rush home from school so I can see if there's mail for me. I look up and stare at the words I wrote on my chalk wall last night. Alone, empty, fraud. Mason's words are in my head now, not Misha's. She gets ready for school, she goes to leave, and she sees one of her letters on the counter. Like, she tried to mail it yesterday, but her sister took it out of the mailbox because her sister was like, dude, it's pathetic. He hasn't written back to you in months. Stop writing him. It's fucking weird, and it's embarrassing, and you need to knock it off. She has this whole back and forth. She takes the letter, and she's like, fuck you, sister. I'm gonna mail it. Like, I still want to talk to him. She goes out there, puts it in the mailbox. She's like, maybe it is pathetic. Takes it out, crumples it, throws it in the trash can. And then she's like, yeah, but like, Misha never wrote me as much as I wrote him. I'd never really thought about that until now. But then she's like, oh, wait, but no, it's not pathetic. Misha wouldn't want me to stop writing him. He made me promise. I need you to know that, right? He said, tell me we'll always have this. Tell me you won't stop. That was in one of his rare letters where I got a glimpse of everything that he keeps hidden. He seemed afraid and vulnerable, and so I promised him. Why would I ever stop? I never want to lose him. Misha. I swing around and jog back to the garbage can, puts it back in the mailbox. When she gets to school, she sees a new vandalism. It sounds like such a nerd way to put it, but I don't really know what to say. There's spray paint on the front lawn at the school that says, Lila got lost, got her salad tossed in the men's locker room last night. Someone was in awe, f***ing her raw. But who could it be? It wasn't JD. Oh my god. So her friends are like, oh my god, like, that must be Punk. Like, Punk is escalating. That's so crazy. They've never called anybody out so directly before. And she's thinking to herself, I groan inwardly. Yeah, but Punk always signs their messages. This is getting out of hand. When she goes inside, there's an actual sign from Punk, or an actual graffiti thing from Punk, and it says, you kissed my hair while sticking me in the heart, but your house will burn before I fall apart. She made the report about her locker getting broken the day before. She has a new locker. It happens to be right next to Manny. And so while she's talking to him, again, they're just bullying the shit out of this guy. I'm not going to keep going into detail about it because it just makes me so sad for him. But they're bullying him, and then Trey throws a football and hits Manny in the side of the head, and he starts bleeding out of his ear. What the fuck, man? When she goes into English class later that day, they are like partnered off into groups to go to the library to get some studying stuff done. She's in a group with JD and Trey, and then it's Lila, Mason, and some other person end up in a group together. Ryan is really upset that Lila and Mason got teamed up because she doesn't like the way that Lila is looking at him. Like, she's a total flirt, and she's like, I don't even know why I care if Lila flirts with Mason. Like, he can do what he wants. It doesn't matter. Someone else has my heart already, and Mason Laurent isn't him. He'll never be Misha. Can you see how on the fucking nose this is getting? So they're on the way to the library. It's the 5 of them, right, making their way down the hall, making their way downtown, walking fast, faces past, and they're homebound. for the library. There ends up being a fight between Trey and Mason, where they have a little bit of an argument where Trey is like, dude, stop checking out my girlfriend. Stop staring at Ryan all the time. I heard you talking to her. Like, you need to leave her the fuck alone. Has this whole thing. He, like, pins him up against a locker. Mason doesn't fight back, though, but the principal walks up, and the principal's like, hey, chill the fuck out. Like, why are you doing that? Mason, sorry about him. Don't mind it. If he does anything again, like, let me know. Okay? They make their way to the library. She's doing some studying stuff while the boys are on the computer, and Mason corners her in the back of the library between, like, one of the shelvings of books and asks her, who's Delilah? I freeze and stare at him, forgetting that he's holding my hand as the hair on my neck stands up. What? You had her name doodled all over your notebook. Who is she? Secret girlfriend? Secret shame? A regret? He's, like, writing on her hand, like he's holding her hand, and he ends up writing on her finger. He says, you know, I could have taken him and his friend in one breath just now. What was I waiting for? He stares into my eyes, searching for something. Maybe the same thing that Cortez, Manny, kid waits for when your boyfriend's pushing him around. Maybe for someone in their perky little ponytail and come fuck me short shorts to grow a dick and stand up to the asshole. Was that what Delilah was waiting for too? Did she wait for you too and you never showed? He grabs my hand and turns my finger, showing me what he wrote. I look down at the thick black letters written on the inside of my finger. Shame. Don't worry. I won't say anything. Your secrets are yours. You have to live with them. Next time he lays a hand on me, though, I'll end him. And I'll take his prom date. She's his prom date, by the way, if that's not clear. So, like, how is there tension between them? Like, how, like, what? Hello? I don't understand. I don't understand how there's, like, romantic tension. Or he's, like, saying stuff like that. And then she's like, oh, yeah, he'll never have my heart. I'm like, why are you even thinking about that? He's a fucking douchebag. What are you talking about? Why are you even entertaining that? It doesn't make any sense to me at all. In chapter 7, we're in Misha's perspective. They're still in the library, and he is just kind of reflecting on, like, what's going on. At least my Ryan is still in there somewhere. I see it in how she's uncomfortable when that Cortez kid is bullied. I saw it this morning when she gave the janitor nail polish remover to help take off the graffiti, and I see it all over her room. The collages, the poetry, the lyrics I've sent for her review, the quotes and colors everywhere. That's the Ryan I know. But in 10 years, she could be Lila, self-serving, false, and screwing anything to forget how much she hates herself. God damn. And everything I've always found incredible about her will be gone. Eventually, Ryan comes up behind him, pins him down, and then takes a pen to the back of his neck and writes needle dick douchebag asshole on his neck. I break into laughter. Awesome. Stuck up Ryan Trevorrow is learning how to play in the mud, and I feel a little excitement course through my veins. What? He goes to his next class, and he gets called to the office by the principal, and he's like, oh, shit. I wonder if it's because of my neck or if it's because of the fight earlier with Ryan, and he's a little nervous about this interaction with the principal. She's like, hey, you're not in trouble, dude. It's just you're a new student. I just want to say hello. Like, I just want to make greetings and also apologize for my stepson's behavior. He's kind of a shithead. Let me know if you have problems. He is not very happy with her. He just keeps replying flatly and being very disengaged from the conversation until eventually he just, like, walks out of her office and leaves. She didn't find me out. Not only can I leave whenever I want, but I can stay as long as I'd like. No one knows. It's a little scary of a thought to end the chapter on. In chapter 8, from Misha's perspective, he is trying to get the ink off of his neck. Like, he thought it wouldn't bother him so much, but it is. And he can't get it off. Ryan sees him struggling at the water fountain trying to get this off, and she jokingly tries to offer him a scarf, and is like, oh, you want this? He's like, nail polish remover, now. She gives him the nail polish remover, and then he takes the scarf out of her hand, puts the nail polish remover on it, and wipes off his neck. And it was a cashmere scarf. So she's a little pissy about that. She's like, I saved up so much money for that. Like, what the fuck, man? He's like, I don't care. Gives her back her inky, ruined scarf, and then storms off. When I found out she was popular, not an outcast, and a cardboard cutout, not at all original, I became angry. She led me to believe those things, and my muse was a lie, until yesterday in the parking lot when I bit and she bit back. That's my Ryan, and I want to see more. It's just weird, and she obviously, she doesn't know that this is Misha. She just thinks it's some random guy. He is kind of being stalkerish, but also bullying her, but also being pissed off that she's a bully. Make that one make sense. And he's just being a complete dickbag to her instead of, like, coming clean about it all. It doesn't, like, the premise of this makes no sense to me whatsoever. So then Misha sneaks into his actual house. Like I said, he ran away. He's been staying at the Cove, kind of avoiding his dad and going through all that stuff. But he goes back to the house to get more clothing because he's running out and he doesn't want to get caught using the washer and dryer. So instead he sneaks in to get more clothes and more of his things. While he's there, though, he makes a pit stop into his sister's bedroom and has an emotional moment, smelling her again, which is like so heartbreaking. And he digs into one of her drawers and takes out a cashmere scarf that she has, and he's planning on giving it to Ryan to make up for ruining her scarf with the whole Sharpie thing, or the whole like pen ink thing. Kind of cute. He was like, Annie wouldn't want it to go to waste, and she always wanted to meet Ryan, and she knows how much Ryan means to him, so Annie would have been supportive of her having the scarf rather than just like rotting away in a drawer somewhere. As he goes to leave, though, his dad comes home, and his dad knows that he's in the room. He's kind of hiding in the closet, like, so his dad can't see him or doesn't know for sure that he's there, but assumes that he is, and sits down on Annie's bed and talks to him. You're always so different. T-shirts and jeans to family functions, guitar lessons instead of violin or piano. Always so difficult to get motivated for anything other than what you wanted to do. Always so difficult, period. My eyes water, but I don't budge. He's right. In his head, I thought about everything. I made arguments where there weren't any. In my head, I just wanted him to accept me. That's why I held on to Ryan for so long. I stopped being able to talk to you, he nearly whispers. Then he drops his eyes, correcting, I stopped finding a way to talk to you. He picks up my sister's blanket at the end of the bed and slowly brings it to his nose, and then his body immediately shakes and he lets out a sob. Pull my lip ring in between my teeth. I don't know if I ever said he has a lip ring. Of course he has a lip ring. That's such a red flag. I pull my lip ring in between my teeth and tug until I feel a sting. Everything hurts, and I hate this. I hate that Annie's room is empty. I hate that our house is dark. I hate that I don't know where I'm supposed to be. I don't belong anywhere. And I hate that he's alone. He didn't comfort me after Annie's death. Why should I want to be here for him? And why do I feel a sudden need to tell Ryan everything? For her to know what I haven't said and to tell me just the right thing, just like she does in her letters. To forget Falcon's Well and what I'm doing there. To go back, simply because that's where she is. That was like in the middle of the school day that he snuck out to go to his house. He goes back to the campus and drops off the scarf in Annie's Jeep. It's unlocked. He writes a little note and he says, you'll look better in blue. And no, I didn't steal it, which is pretty cute. As he's going to his truck, he sees a crowd gathering. There's a bunch of people around it, and they're all like shocked gasps and taking photos. And it turns out that somebody painted the F slur on the hood of his car. He knows who it was. Obviously, it was Trey. Trey is on the other side of the parking lot, giggling about the situation. So he goes over there, confronts Trey. Trey talks some shit, ends up punching him. Like, they end up getting in a fist fight, and he kind of kicks Trey's ass. JD pulls him off, and then the principal comes over to break it up. She's saying, you will get a bucket and hose, and you will clean every inch of it, both of you. It better not be a permanent paint. But now, she cuts him off, and I warned you, what would happen if you pulled anything else? It wasn't him, Mrs. Burrows. I blink, hearing Ryan's voice. The principal stops and turns toward her. Trey's just covering for me, Ryan says. I hear her voice off to the side somewhere, but I refuse to look at her. What the hell is she doing? I might have believed she vandalized my car, but to write the F slur on the hood? Just, again, hey, keep in mind, we are completely just spelling that word out constantly in this book. On the hood, not a chance. Excuse me? Mrs. Burrows asks her. Yeah, it was a stupid prank. I'm sorry. Voices sound off around us as everyone starts whispering, and I blink long and hard. Her prom date was about to get in trouble, and she couldn't let that happen, could she? It would just be too humiliating to show up to prom alone. Stupid girl. You did that to his car? It was a joke. I'll take care of it. I'll take it to the car wash and pay for it right now. Ryan goes with Misha, or Mason, to go and hop in his truck to clean his car. He is pissed, rightfully so. As they're in the car, they're driving over there, she tries to give the scarf back. Just take it. It was a dick move ruining yours. I owed you. I don't want it. Another girl's perfume is on it, so you should let your skank know she left it in your back seat. I shake my head. I take the scarf and stuff it in the center console. It was on the tip of my tongue to tell her, to let her know that it was my sister's, and somehow I liked the idea of Ryan having a part of her, and what a dumb idea that was, because why would I want a vile brat like her to put her hands on anything that belonged to Annie? But I would never show her weakness. I never want her pity. So they get to the car wash, and he's like, well, what? You're the one who fucked up the car. You know I didn't. I know. It's real touching and all, you taking the fall for your man, but you're washing it. And so he sits in his car while he watches her wash the paint off of the hood of his car. Suddenly, I'm so tired. Ever since I can remember, I've had others' voices in my head trying to tell me what to do. I fought back, stood up for myself, and I've been proud of the decisions I've made, but that doesn't mean I haven't had my doubts. My dad and why he can't love me as much as my sister, the guys at my school who thought it was cooler to play sports and bang 5 girls a weekend, my mother and how she left when I was 2 and Annie was 1, and maybe the reason she left was because she didn't want us. I'm glad I never listened to others' voices in my head, but I still hear them. They're still noisy, and I'm still walking against the wind. Don't change, Ryan wrote in a letter once. There's no one like you, and I can't love you if you stop being you. I guess I shouldn't say that, but I'm a little drunk right now. I just came back from a party when I saw your letter, but what the hell? I don't care. You knew I loved you, right? You're my best friend. So don't ever change. This is a big-ass world, and when we leave our small towns, we're going to find our tribe. If we don't stay true to ourselves, how will they recognize us? Both of us, because you know we're in the same tribe, right? And even if it's just the 2 of us, it will be the best. He just continues to think about how much that he did love her, like growing up and stuff, and he just can't believe that she's this shitty person in real life. He's like, she never even took her own advice. Like, she said all of these things to me, she gave me such great advice and these words of wisdom, and then didn't take any of it, obviously, because she's just a raging B-word. He's reflecting on all of this while he's watching her wash the car, and it's literally just a whole chapter of that happening. It ends up with, she sprays him with water through the cracked window. He gets out, they have a little cutesy tussle. They end up in his back seat, like making out. Well, they don't make out. How would I describe it? They're in the back seat. He's like hovering on top of her, and she's like, what does your lip ring feel like? And he's like, why don't you find out? And so then she like plays with his lip ring with her mouth. I don't know. As they're in the back seat in this like semi-compromised, well, very compromised position, Trey drives up and honks his horn because he's like, hey, what the f*** did you do with my girlfriend? He's like, I don't know. I dropped her off on the side of the road. She's not here though. He laughs, shaking his head. Don't worry, man. You can have her after our baseball game against Thunder Bay next week. I like a little after I win, so until then, just wait your turn. I watch as he speeds off and disappears down the road, curling my fists. I will not wait my turn. He can't have her. Oh my god. In chapter 9, we're back to Ryan's perspective, and she wakes up the next day, and she's, having a little naughty dream. I'm not going to go into detail about this because, again, they're 18 years old. I don't even want to be reading spicy stuff about 18-year-olds. Definitely not talking about it out loud. But she was having some, inappropriate thoughts, and she woke up, and she was thinking of playing with his lip ring, but she was calling him Misha. Like, she has turned Mason into Misha in her mind. I don't have any words. And so then she keeps looking at all of these words that she has written down, right? Alone, empty, fraud, shame, all of these things that Mason has said to her. And she's trying to reflect on what it could mean and why he would be so mean to her all the time, but how much, Misha would never do this to me. Mason's such a terrible person, but I can't stop thinking about him. The truth is, I'm starting to think about him a lot, and I don't know why, especially when he's constantly in my face telling me what I'm doing wrong. So with that, she's like, okay, I gotta knock this off. I have to figure out what is happening with Misha. And so she decides that she is going to drive across town. She is going to make the 30-mile drive to Thunder Bay and go and drive by Misha's house. They're pen pals. They've been writing letters together to each other forever. She has his address. So she drives by. Mansions, dude. It's such a ritzy neighborhood, and he lives in this incredibly beautiful house. She gets the gumption, the gall, the wherewithal, the confidence. I don't know. She talks herself up to be able to go and knock on the door and ask if Misha is there, or see if Misha answers. Misha's dad is the one who answers the door, and he's like, he's not here. Tries to shut the door in her face, and she's like, hey, is he okay? I haven't heard from him in a while. Dad says he's fine. Shuts the door in her face. So she's like, okay, well, at least I know he's alive, so that's something, but that also means that he's ignoring me, so I don't know if that's worse, actually. He lives here. His father says he's not home right now, which means he's home sometimes. So he hasn't moved or died or joined the army, but I don't feel happy. He's fine. He lives here. He's not home right now. Everything's normal. Nothing's changed. So if he hasn't moved or died or joined the army, then why the hell isn't he writing me anymore? I spin around and charge for my Jeep, knowing what Ryan, Misha's friend, would do. She would never give up. She'd keep riding with undying loyalty, trusting that has a good reason. But the Ryan who Misha doesn't know, the survivor, is taking hold right now, and she doesn't like being played with. You know my address, asshole. Use it or don't. I'm not holding my breath anymore. Cut back to school the next day, and she's in the hallway talking to Lila and Ten, and they're like hanging out at her locker, and Misha is across the hall, or Mason is across the hall talking with a group of people. Like, already got a friend group kind of forming, but of course it's like the outcast kids, ones that they say are definitely going to prison. They seem like the type. Mason has been here less than a week and already has a crowd of friends, all of whom seem to fit his style. A few piercings here and there, some tattoos there, and a few piercings here, some tattoos there, and probably all of them well versed in the bail process. Dude, what a judgy bitch. Oh my god. They're talking crap about him continually until he throws his like 7-Eleven, he had like a 7-Eleven cup, throws it across the hallway into the trash can next to them, but intentionally misses so that soda gets splashed all over Ryan and her friends. Just like, again, petty bullying nonsense. Mason pushes off the lockers, still holding his straw as he chews it, smirking. His friends follow, all of them chuckling. Sorry, Rocks. Mason pulls the straw out of his mouth with a cocky look in his eyes and glares at me. Didn't mean to make you dirty. On her way to class, he is in one of the empty classrooms and snags her. Just pulls her into the chemistry lab, and then they start making out and they have a moment, kind of admitting. She calls him a loser. He calls her a bitch. They like having this little secret relationship thing, though, this little like taboo, whatever. The only thing really of note of this scene is that she goes to say his name, Mace, but he leans up and snatches my lip, cutting me off. He kisses me deep, and all of a sudden, I just want to wrap my arms around him again. Don't call me that when we're like this, he whispers against my lip. Don't call him Mason? Why? I ask. Just don't. He shrugs me off and stands up, forcing me to climb off of his lap. Now do me a favor and go in the lunchroom and sit in Trey's lap, would you? I want to look while your fucking prom date has no clue that I just had that ass grinding on my cock a minute ago. He leaves the classroom, and she looks in like the window reflection to kind of fix her makeup and her hair, making sure that the girl who got out a few minutes ago is tucked back inside, deep down. I take a deep breath and walk out the door, joining my friends in the cafeteria. Oh my god. But again, I don't understand why she is into this. He is so freaking rude. I don't understand the like romance spark connection thing. I totally get from his perspective, you know, if he knows who Ryan is and they've had this established relationship and he's like, you know, girl come true. But he also hates her for like being a bitch. So I'm like, can we pick a lane? Can we pick a lane and stay in it, please? In chapter 10, from Misha's perspective, he is at the Ferris wheel. He is sitting in one of the empty cars and he is writing a song. It's the first time that he's really had the motivation to write since his sister died, and it's because of Ryan. Like, Ryan has once again become his muse. And so in the middle of him writing this song, Dane sees him, and Dane comes over and sits in the car with him and reads the music, and he's like, yeah, we're getting the band back together. And Dane goes on to tell him more of like, hey dude, like your dad is really falling apart, like really, really falling apart. Like, how much longer are you going to be doing this until you come home, like doing whatever it is that you're doing? I still need to get one more thing, I tell him, then I'll be home. Cut to later that night, he's out driving around, and coming up on the house, I slow to a stop and check the clock on my dash. It's after midnight and the street is silent. All of the houses are dark, except one. I gaze out at the 2-story brick home, a single light coming from the den, and a figure moving inside. All the cars are in the driveway. Trey's Camaro sitting in the middle. What I need is in that house. Something of mine. Something of my family's, and I'm getting it back. Fuckface has a baseball game Saturday night, and the whole family will be there. I can do it then, and then I can get out of here. He's avoided Ryan since their little makeout sesh. Like, he avoided her for the last 2 days because it just makes him want to talk to her more and admit who he is. But he knows that if he admits who he is, she's going to be mad at him for not telling her sooner. And then she's going to like not talk to him at all. And then it's going to be this whole thing. And he doesn't want to lose her. But at the same time, like, he doesn't really know what to do. And he's thinking to himself, but if I could go back to before I met her in person, would I really want to? No, I wouldn't trade those minutes in the lab for anything, or the ones in the back of my truck. Eventually, we all have to weigh what we want more, wanting back what we had or wanting what could be, to stay or to risk everything to move forward. He passes by her house. She has a temper and I'm tired tonight. Besides, I need a shower before I try to crawl into bed with her. And so he goes to the school to take a shower in the school locker rooms. While doing so, a security guard comes in. This school actually did finally hire security guards to kind of keep track of the whole like vandalism thing. He's able to hide out before the security guard finds him, but he sees the steam in the bathroom, so he knows he's there, so he has to make a run for it. Run through the building, he goes up some stairs, he goes into all this crazy stuff, trying to like open classroom doors, ends up in the science lab. It's the only door that was open. It was back in the chemistry lab. That door was open. He goes inside of it, and then the voices are coming. They're like, oh, I think he's in here. He dives into the supply closet, and wouldn't you know it, Ryan's hiding in the supply closet as well. Ryan is punk. Ryan is the one that has been doing the vandalism. So they end up having this like super close hiding from the cops moment. He's realizing who she really is, and he's like, oh, this just got a lot more interesting. She's like, what are you even doing here? But she obviously knows he's homeless like she thought, and he was showering at the school and stuff. It ends up turning into this whole shenanigans where they almost find them again. They have to make a run for it. They stage that they ran outside, but really they didn't. They go into the library and they're hiding in the library. She has an asthma attack. Tells him as much. He reaches into her backpack, gives her an inhaler, and he like holds her tightly on the library floor while they're hiding out. The security guards go to leave, and they have this like intimate moment, and they end up like having like a spice scene that I'm not going to talk about, and I'm not going to detail it because it's fucking weird. They're high schoolers. They're 18-year-olds. I have no business talking about 18-year-olds like doing stuff, let alone a 40-year-old writing it. It makes no sense to me why a grown-ass adult is like writing about children. 18-year-olds are children. Shut the fuck up. Like, that's crazy to me. Afterward, they're talking, and he says, I think people would enjoy this version of you. Like this graffiti punk version. My friends would hate me. They already hate you. Everyone does. For a split second, I see a frown cross her face, but it quickly disappears. Why fake it? Why compete with people and play the games? She tries to leave, but I pull her back. Don't walk away from me. This is none of your business. You don't know me. Does anyone? I don't want to be alone. They may hate me, but they respect me. I can't be invisible or laughed at or... I don't know why, okay? I just never had the courage to stand apart. I always wanted to fit in. Everyone wants to be accepted, Ryan. Why do you write on the walls? She stands there staring off, looking like she's struggling to find words. Misha, she says, trailing off again. I tense, my heart picking up pace, and then she shakes her head, letting the thought go. It doesn't matter, okay? I just had ways to vent before, to be heard, and now I don't. I just started doing it a couple of months ago. Okay, so he's reflecting and he's realizing, oh, like that's how she's coping with the loss of Misha, with the loss of that version of myself, is she's doing vandalism. After their spice time and stuff, she is getting dressed. I look down at her body, her beautiful face, a wave of shit I don't know what to do with washing over me. Guilt because she still doesn't know who I am and I've just dug myself deeper. Longing because I miss her. I miss talking to her as me. Lust greater than I've ever known because when we're like this, it's the only time she softens and changes and gives me an inch. And it's a need that's in my head just as much as my body. It keeps me on my toes. And something else growing that I don't want to be there. Something that might make it very hard to leave her. I watch her face. Her body still and her eyes downcast, and a bad feeling creeps through me. She's not looking at me. After a few minutes, she turns back on the ice, like the icy exterior, the shield, right? She says, you started it, so if you're expecting a blowjob, then I know where to get one. You're not my first rodeo. So, without another word, she finishes getting her clothes on and leaves, like storms away, like pissed off at him. Chapter 11, from Ryan's perspective, I haven't spoken to Mason in almost 2 days, not since Wednesday night. in the library, and now it's Friday afternoon, and he wasn't in our first class today. How does he just get to come and go like it's no big deal? Has he ever even turned in any work? I've never seen him with any books, and I'm tempted to go to the Cove and check on him. Is he even still there? And then she goes on to say, I didn't leave any graffiti last night after swim lessons, partly because I almost got caught the night before with him, and it was a good idea to back off for a few days, but also because I suddenly don't want to. Mason was that release now, and I hated that. When Misha disappeared and I didn't know if he was getting my words, I started leaving them at school for people to read. It's stupid and childish, but one day a couple of months ago when things got to be too much, I was afraid I'd start screaming. So that night, before locking up the pool, I made a snap decision and took out my Sharpie. I wrote on a locker, a special message for just that person. It was a fluke. It wouldn't happen again. But the next morning, when I saw him read it over and over before finally writing it down and taping it into the inside of his locker before the janitor could clean it off, it became something I wanted to do again. The messages became more frequent, bigger, and louder, but never personal, never with students' names. She keeps reflecting about this release and how Mason is now her release. I'm attracted to Mason, excited by him, and intrigued by him, but he isn't forever. I don't want to go to the prom with Trey, but I want to go, and Mason hasn't asked me. I don't even know if he's going to be here in a week. After school that day, she's in her Jeep, and Lila and Ten are getting in the car with her. Trey confronts her, and he's like, where have you been, Loca? He's like, where have you been? Like, what the f***? I've been texting you, I've been calling you. She's like, oh, sorry, I didn't realize you owned me. I didn't realize I had to come at your beck and call. Just a little sassy. She gets distracted, though, in the middle of Trey's bitching because she sees Mason talking to a girl in front of his truck. I stare at him, keeping my expression emotionless. Yeah, school has drawn several conclusions about Mason and me, given our arguments and the fact they think I vandalized his truck. But Trey and I aren't dating, and I don't for one second think that he's not out there having a little fun of his own. I have no obligation to him except to look nice for prom pictures, a prom I agreed to when Mason wasn't a factor. So Trey is a little insecure about this stuff with Mason, and he's like, what, so you fucking Mason now? Is that why you're not talking to me? She's like, whatever. Pretty much like, what if I was? Doesn't matter anyway. But she just plays it off until she sees Mason at his truck talking to a girl. My heart pounds in my chest, and I curl my fingers around the steering wheel, wanting to take her by the hair and pull her ass away from him. Really? Why is he looking at her like that? Why did he let her have his phone? Like, she put his number, the girl put her number in his phone, and she's freaking out about it. And 10 says, she really is dumb as a box of rocks. 5 years from now, she'll have 4 different baby daddies. Just watch. Oh my, dude, they are so fucking, like, I don't know if that's like misogynistic or just like shitty. Good God. My pulse rings in my ears as they laugh, but I blink, dropping my eyes. Rocks. Dumb as a box of rocks. I raise my eyes, glaring at Mason Laurent. Motherfucker, that's what he's been calling me? And I'm like, homie, if it took you that long to realize, we are on page 162. It took you over 100 pages to realize that he was calling you dumb as a box of rocks. If the shoe fits, you know what I'm saying? So the girl who gave her his number, right, who was talking to him at his truck, walks by them. And so Lila, being a little nosy, she's like, hey, did you just give him your phone number? Caitlin bites her lip, trying to look coy. Well, I thought he might want it after last night. Last night? 10 presses. Yeah, I ran into him in the parking lot after cheer yesterday. We were up late. She's insinuating a lot more in those words, like she has a secret. My stomach fills with knots. What's he like? Lila asks in a hushed voice, suddenly interested. Like an animal, Caitlin grins. I'm surprised I don't have any bite marks. Ew. Caitlin walks away smiling, and I do my best to act like I'm not sitting here shattering right now. I want to believe she's lying. He wouldn't go for her. He's not after a quick thrill, is he? He wanted me in the library. Me. He wouldn't forget that. Not so soon. Sorry for the sudden disappearance. Look, I made cookies. They're white chocolate macadamia chipped cookies. Girl, they're so good. It's a good day to be a Kaylee. She's trying to pull herself together after witnessing this whole thing between Caitlin and Mason, and it's really fucking her up. She tries to play it off. They're going to the drive-in that night. All of the high schoolers go there and go party, and it's just a reason to all hang out, right? While they're there, she goes to the concession stand to get some food and runs into Mason. He kind of corners her, and he's like, hey, you dropped this the other night, and it's her inhaler. She's embarrassed about it, hides it away super quick, and then keeps ignoring him. He picks up that she's pissy, and he's like, oh, you heard, didn't you? I'm glad. I wanted you to hear. No one cares what you do, loser. You have a boyfriend. Caitlin's got a hell of a body. She's good in bed. She's losing it internally over this. You're jealous. Rocks? I bark. Dumb as a box of rocks. Are you kidding me? It took you long enough. Don't ever call me that again. And I'm not jealous. I don't appreciate you filling me in on all your sleazy bullshit. And I don't like him touching you. 10 comes in. He's like, hey, everything good here? Mason storms away. She pays for her drink, and then she goes back to the car. But instead, she sees Mason's truck and gets the bright idea that she's gonna vandalize it. So she puts her little popcorn or a little soda pop down by the tire of the car. It gets into the back seat and is digging around trying to find like a pen or something. She finds one, but everything is black. Like the entirety of the interior is black. It's super, super tinted, and so she's not really going to be able to do anything. Like, you wouldn't be able to see it. And so then instead, she finds a knife in the glove box. This bitch pops the knife open like she's about to, like, carve something into his vehicle. As she's about to start carving stuff into his car, though, he comes in through the other door, grabs her. She throws the knife, grabs her, hauls her, like, holds her down. She starts to try and yell, tries to get out of the car. He's like, were you jealous? Were you mad you could be so easily replaced? Is that why you're in here trying to do shit to my car? Get over it. A pussy is a pussy after all. And if I don't get it from you, I can get it from someone else with a lot less hassle. If it doesn't bother you, then you shouldn't want to run away. And just like taunting her, basically. She's just struggling, trying to get away from this. She's like, let go of me now. His arms relax around me and I slide away from him, reaching for the handle, but he reaches out and grips the door, holding it closed. Oh my God, dude, he's such a douchebag. I didn't think about you at all when I was in bed with her last night. She was hot. She turned me on. She liked my hands on her, and I liked how she felt. She wasn't average or boring or stuck up. She excited me. My bottom lip shakes and tears fill my eyes, but I tense every muscle in my body, trying not to let him see. Stuck up, average, boring. Tell me you're jealous. If it doesn't bother me, why would I be jealous? Tell me you're trying to not think about how much I loved fucking her. Tell me something true and I'll let you leave. You can't, can you? You can't talk to me. And then I watch through blurry eyes as he leans up and exhales on the window in front of me, fogging it up to draw a word with his finger. Fear. Alone, empty, fraud, shame, fear. What is he doing? What does that mean? A tear spills over and I growl out a breath, wiping the word off of the window. You're a prick. Just stay away from me. I go to open the door, but his hand grabs mine. I didn't sleep with her. I lied. I asked her out for food yesterday to make you jealous, and today she insinuated shit that didn't happen. I let her, but I didn't touch her. I don't want to hurt you. Oh my God, yes you do. What do you think you just fucking did? Like, this guy is, like, masterclass manipulator. Just, like, getting her to fucking cry her eyeballs out, and then he's like, oh, just kidding, babe. Just kidding, I don't mean that. Ew, ugh. People voted this. This was the People's Choice being romance nominee. You bunch of psychopaths, bro. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want anyone else. I only think about you. I think about you all the time, Ryan. I'm sorry. I had to push you. I wanted to know. You didn't touch her? He shakes his head. You turned me on. God, you turned me on. You're driving me crazy. I want you to need my hands on you. Do you? I hold his eyes, seeing the pleading in his, seeing for the first time the need. He's so desperate to hear me say it, and I know right then and there I want to be the only girl he ever looks at like that. You're not boring, you're not average, and you're not stuck up. You piss me off, but you excite me. Anyway, so then he's like, tell me something real, tell me a truth. She goes on a whole spiel. It very much reminds me of the Colleen Hoover one, where it's like, tell me your truths thing, or whatever it is out of the It Ends With Us. It's very reminiscent of that, and so this was also written in 2016, as that novel was. And so I'm trying to think, like, what in pulp culture was happening for them to kind of coincide that writing? Or one of them got a hold of the other one's manuscript a little bit early and stole the idea. Hey, I'm not starting a rumor, I'm just saying it's a little sus. So then she goes on this whole thing, right? Goes on rattling her truths, her realness. I don't like cheese on my sandwiches. Bridge to Terabithia is my favorite book. I make jalapeno bagels sometimes because my mom told me once that they're my dad's favorite. Okay, that's gonna make me cry. Oh, her dad left when she was 4, and I haven't seen him since. I don't make them when she's around, though. Continues on, I don't get along with my sister, and I don't feel close to my mom anymore. I know a lot of it's my fault. My armor got too thick, and I stopped letting people in. Most people. I can't get enough of you, though. And sometimes I want to vomit on Lila when I see her. He laughs at that and tells him about thinking about him in bed, you know what I'm saying? And he wants to do spicy stuff with her in the vehicle. which again, I'm not going to detail. The one thing I will say though is she's like, hey, we can't, like, people will see. People will see. No one sees you, baby, just me. That feels so fucking rude. I know he's meaning it in the intent of, like, I see the real you. Like, I see you for who you are. But, like, oh my god, that sounds so fucking rude. Anyway, they go on to do spicy shit. I don't know what you want from me. In the middle of them doing stuff, she's thinking, like, she's like, I feel like I really know him. I feel this connection to him. So she asks, she's like, where did you come from, Mason? Where are your parents? What are you hiding from? He stares at me. Then he reaches down and runs his finger gently down my face, forcing my eyelids to close. Close your eyes. There's nothing to see out there. What? She opens her eyes again and she looks out the window, and Trey is standing right outside of the window of the truck. What do you mean? In chapter 12, from Ryan's perspective, she just keeps hiding in the back of his truck. He gets out and then drives her to her house, and then she'll just get her purse and whatever she needs from Lila at a later date. I catch sight of the screen on the radio, seeing the name of the song playing from the iPod, and break out in a smile, turning it up. Mason glances over at me, probably wondering why I look happy. What? I gesture to the radio where Eminem's Without Me is playing. I have a friend. He hates my taste in music. I sent him this song once. It led to a lifetime argument that still hasn't been settled. He? She explains the elementary school pen pal thing. Do you tell him everything? I tell him more than I tell anyone else. Do you lie to him? Yes. He gets the version of me that I want to be. For some reason, I feel no shame in admitting that to Mason. With my mom, my sister, my teachers, and my friends, I feel like I'm judged, like there's something I need to live up to. Even with Misha, I feel guilt for never putting my money where my mouth is and hoping he never finds out how awful I can be sometimes. I want him to think the best of me, but with Mason, I almost feel like nothing I could do could make him want me less. Like my imperfections entertain him, my issues complement his issues, and two negatives make a positive and all that. Oh my god. Why? There's no reason for them to like each other. Like, genuinely makes no sense to me at all why they like each other or why this, like, quote-unquote romance is happening. She gets out of the car at his house. He's like, hey, are you gonna write about this to your friend? She's like, oh, would that make you jealous? He gets out of his car, goes up to her, gives her a hug and stuff, and then says, what's his name? Who? Your pen pal. He hovers close, his lips an inch from mine. His breath lingers on my lips, and I open my mouth just a little in anticipation for him. God, he smells good. Misha, I whisper. He kisses me, his lips sinking into mine as I close my eyes. What was that? I couldn't hear you. Misha, I gasp before diving into him and brushing my tongue with mine. Oh my god. You just conned her into saying his name. Oh. At school on Monday, she goes inside and there's writing on her locker in a black Sharpie. It says, anything to not need you, anything to not fall for you, anything to look at a girl who's not you, but baby, there's nothing but you. He's very happy. He's like, he wrote to her. It's so romantic. He like snuck into the school and like risked it to write a little love letter to her over the weekend on her locker. I don't get it. In art class, he bumps into her and drops a piece of paper that says, I can't wait to kiss you. And then, next thing she knows, Trey walks in the door. He sits next to her and is talking about how he can see down her shirt and he only comes to that class just so he can stare at her boobs or something. Misha is in front of her, took like a protractor to the table and is like carving into the wood with anger. And then Trey starts to bully Manny, who's sitting next to Misha, right, after the whole movement thing. And he's like, oh, you're not gonna have your guard dog in PE, like, I'll take care of you later, don't you worry about it, Manny, like, pretty much, like, I'll fuck you up. For what reason? What is this poor kid doing to you, dude? And so then finally, she starts to push back a little bit, and she's like, Jesus, dude, would you go to chemistry? Like, will you just go to class? I'll see you at lunch. I have work now, and, like, pushes him to, like, get the hint. He snorts like he's wondering what possible work I could have to do in art. He finally rolls his eyes and gives me a peck on the cheek, getting up and walking out of the room. I reach down, pretending to get something out of my bag, and I whisper to Mason, tell me you're jealous. I say the same words to him that he said to me at the drive-in. I don't want to go to prom with Trey. I don't even want to talk to Trey, but Mason has given me nothing, and I'm not putting my life on hold in the meantime. Tell me I'm yours. He lets the protractor fall to the table and looks down, keeping silent. I feel like you're going to disappear any minute, like you're not really here. I'll tell you everything, I promise, just not yet. They go on through art class. She tells him, like, her project that she's working on, that she's making the album cover for her friend Misha. And he's like, what? She's like, nothing, don't worry about it. gives him a granola bar because she heard his stomach growling, and then she leaves. She just walks out of class. I guess we can just do that. The issue that I have, hold on, let me show you. You can see like a break in here. It will randomly go from, between these two paragraphs. Right, it says it's only 8 a.m. and I've already had enough boys for the day. Cut to the next paragraph, and all of a sudden it's lunchtime. But there's no indicator that time has passed. There's no marker. There's no like larger break in the paragraph with like a little squiggly line to be indicative of like of a time jump or anything. So I would be in the middle of a chapter and I'm like, what fucking day is it? Like, what time is it? I hate it. So at lunch that day, Lila approaches her, and Lila is like, hey, you leaving the drive-in on Friday with Mason was like pretty shitty of you. Her response is, Lila, I'm pretty sure you've given more guys a ride than a bus. So maybe when you're perfect, you can talk. Oh my God. They, go and sit down at the lunch table. JD and Trey are there, and Trey is like, hey, you want to have some fun? You should go over to Mason, get him to come to my house next week for the party. I pinched my eyebrows together, vaguely remembering him mentioning his parents being out of town soon, and he wants me to bring Mason. So you can do what? Beat him up after I've lured him into a trap like an 80s movie? Yeah, no. And that's all internal. Trey pulls away, and I force my tone even. That doesn't sound like a lot of fun to me. Trey hoods his eyes, clearly aggravated with my lack of cooperation. He turns to Lila, giving her a sexy smile. Lila, baby, he says, and I see JD tense. You got some balls, don't you? Lila grins back coyly, and I shake my head. If I don't do what he wants, Lila will. I catch JD's sneer shoot between Trey and Lila, and then to me before he looks away. I heave a sigh. Mason's not stupid, Trey. He'll see right through this. He's like, do it anyway. So she goes up to Mason's table. Hey. A smile curls Mason's lip, and his friend's eager glances dart between him and me. Princess, what can I do for you? Oh, please. I slide in between him and the table, hopping up and planting my hands behind me. Your prom date's watching. He sent me. He seems to think that you'll let me bring you to one of his parties. You don't want your friends to think you're a chicken, do you? Oh, Mason's smile widens, and he glances to his side, probably seeing if Trey's paying attention. Not that either of us probably cares. I kind of like this game. No one would believe that we're actually into each other. I can play them as long as we're not playing each other. He looks up at me and slides his hands under my knees, pulling me off the table and slowly lowering me into his lap, straddling him. Quiet laughter sounds off around the table. I don't want you to go. He won't be alone. Why do you care? You're still going to prom with him, aren't you? Has anyone else asked me? Would you say yes? Ask and find out. Then the principal is yelling at her, like, get off of his lap. He gently picks her up, takes her off of his lap, and then the principal is yelling at him and her, and then he just gets up and walks away. Doesn't give a fuck. In chapter 13, Misha, I'm going to hell. I'm pretty sure she's going to drag me there herself. Ryan has a nasty temper, and it's the one thing about her I didn't know but was happy to find out. It excites me. I tilt the flower pot and pluck out the key that's hidden underneath. Unlocking her front door, I replace the key and enter the house as the grandfather clock chimes to indicate 5 a.m. Hopefully everyone is still asleep. I'll tell her tomorrow. I'll take her to my father's house. My house, and show her. No, I should write her a letter. Something where I can get my words out right. No. She won't accept it. She won't be able to get past it. She'll hate me and cut me off, and my life will be empty without her. I have to tell her, or I have to leave. And the possibility that I'll do just that, punk out, cut and run, is the only reason I don't claim her. The only reason I don't knock Trey's fucking hands off of her and put a dent in his damn stomach. I can't rob her of prom and friends when I know I won't be here to pick up the pieces. Either I'll be gone, or she'll make me go. Long story short, he sneaks into her house, goes up to her room. She's in the middle of doing stuff to herself. He catches it. Cue a spice scene between them. The only thing to really note of this is like a conversation that they have afterwards where he says, I'm going to do something a little illegal tonight. You game? What is it? It's a surprise. Don't you trust me? Why would I trust you? The only thing I know about you is that you've got a nice body and you get me off good. Ew. Ew. And then he leaves. Cut to chapter 14 from Ryan's perspective. That evening, there's a baseball game, and she's doing a bake sale with Lila. So they're sitting out front, they're selling it for like the first little bit before the game starts, and then once the game starts, they wrap it up and they leave. She goes and finds Mason, he's out by his truck. She's like, okay, cool, so like, what are we doing? Hops in, he goes driving. So while they're on this drive to do this like secret illegal activity, she realizes how much that she likes him. I chew on the corner of my mouth, feeling so many things I know I shouldn't say, but I want to. I like you, I tell him, looking down, my voice quiet. You said some nice things Friday night, and I wanted you to know, in case you don't already, that I actually kind of like you. I know I can be me. I don't get sappy, and I don't give up what's going on in my head a lot. It's hard for me, but yeah, I like you. Okay. He pulls up in front of Trey's house. She's like, what the fuck? He says, you're the only one I trust. I don't expect you to go inside with me. Like, I don't want you to get in trouble or anything. I'm going to go break into their house, though. Can you call me if somebody comes down the road? Programs his number into her phone, and she chases after him because she's like, what the fuck are you doing? Long story short, she ends up going into the house with him. He's looking for something. He's like, they have something of mine. Like, I need to get something out of this house. So they go through the parents' bedroom, and he's digging through a drawer, and he's like, hey, hold this. Like, hold the flashlight for me. She's like, what is yours? Like, what are we looking for? A watch. Why would they have your watch? Later, now hold the light. No such luck. He opens up one of the other bedrooms, and it's Trey's little sister's room. He opens the door, and Mason is kind of frozen for a minute, just taking in this little girl's room and getting, like, irate. Like, she can kind of sense the, like, fury, like, radiating off of him. He slams the door closed, and then he finally finds Trey's room. Goes into Trey's room, digging through all of his drawers. As he has his hand in the one dresser, she's like, that should go deeper than that. Like, you're only getting through, like, half of the dresser. So she digs in there, finds, like, a false, like, you know what I mean? Like, a false closure, false ending to the drawer, is able to move that and get deeper into it, and doesn't find what he's looking for, but instead finds a stack of, like, 4x6 printed photos of women having relations with Trey. Like, this is Trey's little collection. Ends up finding a photo of Trey and Lila, and that is how she finds out that they are sleeping together. Upon seeing the picture of, I don't care about him, and I don't really like her, so why do I feel my eyes burning and my throat aching with a scream? I'm not jealous he got from her what he wasn't getting from me, and I'm not jealous they got off on each other, but why did they feel like they could do it behind my back? I just feel like shit for some reason. The whole time I thought I was winning. I thought I was on top, but behind my back, the people I thought I could handle were handling me. They think I'm stupid after all. Someone they find easy to humiliate, just like before. So she starts to, like, have a breakdown over this idea of, like, being humiliated again, and she says, you know, I turned into this because I was a kid and I thought there was something more. I treated friends I didn't think were good enough for friends who really aren't good enough. Even Misha gave up on me. I'm sure Misha has a reason, because there's nothing wrong with you. There's so much wrong with me. I don't have any friends, Mason. He goes on to be like, give her a pep talk, almost says I love you, plays it off, whatever. As they go to leave, she takes the pictures with her because she wants to set them on fire, and he says, I have a better idea. He takes the stack of photos and throws it into the parents' room. They get into the car, and she apologizes. She's like, hey, I'm sorry we didn't find what you were looking for. He says, I got what I want. What the fuck does that even mean, bro? After a couple minutes, he pulls up in front of my house and puts the truck in park, leaving the engine running. She says, hey, there's a treehouse in the backyard. You game? He smiles. I would love to, but I have something to do right now. Okay. She goes inside and she's reflecting on this night and how Mason makes her feel again. It makes her feel courage. She says, the way I dress, the guys I talk to, the games I play, it's all plastic. But when I'm with him, I'm gold. That might be the cheesiest thing I've ever heard in my life. She's continuing to reflect on life and on these last couple of weeks, and she looks at the wall where she has all the words written. Alone, empty, fraud, shame, fear, and below it I added the line, he spoke to me in the back of the truck at the drive-in. Close your eyes, there's nothing to see out here. And she's realizing, like, this sounds really familiar, and it rhymes. It's almost like a song. She looks up some of the lyrics on YouTube, is able to find a band called Cypher Core who is performing the song. The song is called Pearls. She's watching the video and she sees Mason. Mason is the lead singer. She says, oh my God, he has a band? The Scavenger Hunt. Oh my God. I thought he was just some guest that night, some random guy hanging around, but he wasn't. That was his band's event. My hand shakes as I move the cursor and click on Show More. The Show More section. The lyrics are written there, and I see Mason close his eyes and hold the microphone on its stand. His smooth, deep voice starts singing the words I'm reading. I'm not going to read it to you because it's cringy as fuck and I hate it. Just know, there's lyrics, and the lyrics ring a bell. I repeat them in my head. Reap, reap, reap. You don't even know. Misha and I put those lyrics together. The entire fucking song is Misha's. I remember it, and something terrible and hard curls through me as I stop breathing and read the short bio at the bottom. Cyphercore is an American rock band based out of Thunder Bay. A band in Thunder Bay? No. I swallow acid, bile rising in my throat. Members: Dane Lewis, guitar and backing vocals. Lotus Maynard, bass. Malcolm Weinberg, drums. Misha Lair, lead vocals, guitars. Oh my God. I crumble, sinking out of my chair to the floor, sobbing and shaking my head. Oh my God. How did I not know? I close my eyes, angry tears streaming down my face. Misha, my best friend who got me into bed and f***ed me with a lie. You have a friend, he'd said earlier. No, I whisper to myself, rage building as I slam my laptop closed and leave the room to get my sister's car keys. I have no friends. How do I feel about that? She has a right to be upset, right? Because he was lying to her, and that's, like, super shitty and whatever. But I also don't necessarily... Well, I guess she was kind of betrayed, right? Because he lied to her and lied about who he was to get in her pants. But also, he was, like, a bully and a complete dick to her anyway. I think I would be more upset that my best friend talked to me that way and called me a stupid... I think would offend me more. You think that she would be happy realizing that Mason and Misha were the same person, of, like, oh, yeah, that's why I get along with him so well. And, like, we already, like... You know what I mean? We have all this chemistry. Like, it's great. Yeah, I think I would be more upset at the fact that my best friend, like, straight up bullied me than I was that he lied. But I might just be crazy, and I might just be saying that because I'm obviously not in that position. In chapter 15, it's Misha's perspective. He goes back home. Like, what he has to do that night is go home. He sneaks in. His dad is there, asleep on a chair. It smells bad. His dad clearly is, like, wearing wrinkled clothes. He hasn't been showering. There's, like, takeout boxes everywhere. The house is just filthy. Like, his dad has not been taking care of himself or the house whatsoever. Misha kind of takes in the sight, and it really hits him about what happened here. And he goes on talking to his sleeping father, who's passed out on this chair, about how he didn't answer the phone that night from Annie, and how he feels guilty. I still wake up frightened out of my mind, and for a moment I think that it was all a nightmare. I grab my phone, scared that I missed a call from her. Oh my God. He goes on thinking, you know, how much he blames himself, but also I blamed him too. If he'd just stopped pushing her and convinced her that our mother was never coming back, she might not have been destroying her body to try and be a perfect student, the perfect athlete, the perfect kid, and then her poor body might not have given out on her on that dark, empty road. If he hadn't popped Xanax when it was convenient, then maybe Annie would never have gotten the idea to put herself on amphetamines to give herself the boost to do more than she could handle and be perfect. Annie was going to be great. She fought for what she wanted in life. So much wasted talent. Sometimes I wish it was me instead, too. Oh my God, it's so sad. He said that to me one night when we had gotten in each other's face and I'd been hurt, despite how I acted like I wasn't. I knew he didn't mean it, but I do know he'd be happier, still having the one child of his he had a good relationship. With me, what does he have? But I can't let him go. Annie is in him. She's in this house, and we're her family. We have to stay that way. We're never going to have a relationship like you and she had, but I'm here. I stand up and quietly start clearing off the cluttered table, heading to the kitchen to do the dishes. Oh my God. So then he stays home and he cleans up the house. That's so sad. The next day, he is going to the warehouse, runs into Dane. Dane sees him with the boxes, and he's like, oh, like, what are you doing, dude? He's like, oh, I'm bringing my stuff. I'm moving back home. Dane's excited to hear it. So then Dane hops in, and they head over to the Cove to get the last of his stuff so that he can bring it back to his house and be there full time again, right? When he gets to the Cove, his little room thing is destroyed. Completely destroyed. And there are letters strewn about everywhere, and he picks one up, and it's all the letters that he had written her. She stole his stack of letters that he had hiding in that room, and then she left all the letters that he wrote her in there as like a final, like, fuck you. And he's thinking those letters are everything. They're her and me, kids just trying to figure themselves out and going through all of our growing pains. They're where I first started to fall for her and need her. They're my fucking songs and part of me. It's our history. So he's so mad that she stole these letters. So then he, like, runs out of the Cove, hops in his truck, pretty much almost abandons his cousin. Poor Dane is, like, running to keep after him. He goes straight to Ryan's house, and she's bawling her eyes out. And he's like, where are the letters? And she's like, I burned them. She's like, how could you do this to me? I was supposed to trust you the whole time you were right here watching me. You ruined everything. He's like, I didn't come to Falcon's Well for you, but believe me, I'm not sorry. What a waste of time you were all these years. Now I know. What the fuck are you talking about? Why is he being so mean?
It's a defense mechanism, Kaylee. Of course he's gonna be mean. He doesn't know how to show his emotions.
Shut the fuck up. I don't care. I don't want to read a romance about a man who can't control his feels or who can't express them properly. He has no reason to be lashing out at her. He's in the wrong. Anyway, she's like, get out. I never thought that I would make Ryan Trevorrow cry, but both times I have. It's been in the past 2 weeks. We kept writing because we needed each other, because we made the other one's life better. But even after knowing her for years, it took no time for me to break what we had. We were perfect for each other until we met. And so she just starts going off. She's like, this was all fake to you. You don't even care about me. Like, none of this even matters. And he takes his shirt off to show her his tattoos. Oh my God. Her eyes fall over the cassette tape high on my torso, musical notes stringing out of it, and the label on the tape reading "The Hand That Rules the World." It was a play on words from a poem Ryan quoted in a letter once. Whatever, dude. All of his tattoos are because of her. Why didn't you tell me? At any time you could have said, hey, I'm Misha. I kissed you. I went to bed with you the whole time you knew me and I had no idea. You humiliated me. You've been right here in front of me this whole time. Do you have any idea how fucking creepy that is? I had no reason to tell you. I didn't even know if I liked you anymore after that first day, and I definitely had no reason to trust you. You were a snotty little brat, and you know it. Why did you lie to me? Why did I think for 7 years that you were strong and fucking nice? Someone who has balls and stands up for herself. I lied about the people in my life and the parts of me I fake for others. Everything else was true. The movies, the music, my ideas, and my dreams. Everything else was true. The rest wasn't important. I trusted you too. I believed in you. I'm everything that I said I was. You can say whatever you want. It doesn't make it true. I was the real me when I wrote those letters to you. I was everything that I wanted to be. They continue to have a back and forth about letters and not being who they were and yada, yada, yada. It's supposed to be touching. I'm just frustrated with it. I'm just tired of reading about them. They're just annoying the shit out of me. And then I climb through the window. I head back to the cove. I'm not going home. I'm not going anywhere until she's mine. You know that one video of like the girl who, it was like the anti-pot commercials, and she's like melted into the couch? That's how I feel right now. I've been filming for like 2.5 hours, I think, right now, and I'm so done. I'm done with this book. I'm done with everything. I'm about to lay sideways in this chair. We're about to get real comfy, guys. Anyway, that's me. That's who I'm channeling right now. I have my legs up. I don't know if you can. I'm like, oh. Chapter 16. We have 100 pages left. I can power through this. We got this, guys. And we're in Ryan's perspective. And Ryan, she's been crying like non-freaking stop for the last like 2 days, like over the entirety of the weekend. She ignores Mason, or Misha, I guess, in the hallways, but they have art class together. And so when art starts, and he is in there in front of her, she can't ignore him anymore, right? Freaking out about this and about having to deal with him when Manny Cortez, the kid who gets bullied all the time, runs into her and like spills paint on her. And so she snaps at him and he says, I'm sorry. You're gonna be. The kiln is that way, moron. Do you need a map? He winces, his eyes dropping as others around him laugh. My stomach rolls and I grind my teeth together to hold back the sob as I push past him and charge toward my seat in the back. He walks away, diving into the supply room. Dropping my bag, I sit in my seat. I pull out my sketch pad and pencils. Misha's presence is heavy next to me. Yeah, I know. I'm a vile bitch, right? No. Just weak and stupid, and I'd tear you apart in front of this whole school if I wasn't so sure that you already feel like a pile of shit inside. And then the art teacher calls on her to talk about her piece, like to do like a little class presentation, check in about how her project is going, and she can't say anything. Like, she can't talk. She's too lost in her own mind. I lashed out at Manny because he was an easy target, because he's weaker than me, because he's the only thing weaker than me. Everyone else sees through me, and Misha is disgusted by me. He hates me. Ryan, the teacher calls. Who I am and how no one likes me isn't Misha's fault. I did this. I'm stupid, weak, and a waste. I feel tears welling and I choke on a sob. Reaching down, I grab my bag, hook it over my shoulder as I walk through the class, avoiding stares and hushed whispers as I leave the room. As soon as I hit the hallway, I let the tears loose and run into the bathroom. It's later in the day, cut to lunchtime, and she's going through the lunch line when Lila is confronting her about missing practice and just being crappy, and she snaps back at Lila. They get into this like little bickering contest until one of Misha's friends appears between them and breaks it up and like distracts Lila. So she storms away. Misha shows up behind her and he's like, hey, we need to talk. She says, I don't want you here, Mason, Misha. Just go home. Go to Thunder Bay. I can't. I have no life there if you're not in it. You're part of everything good I've ever done, Ryan. You're in the music. You've made me strong. I won't do anything in my life if you're not there. I'm sorry. I never meant for any of this. You broke my heart. I look at you and I don't see Misha. All the years, all the letters, it's getting further from my memory, like Friday night clouded everything. You tainted it all the history, and soon I'll barely remember you or how we used to be friends. And she goes to her regular lunch table, and they're all kind of ignoring her and just acting like she doesn't exist. Like, her friends are already starting to, like, exile her because she's being so distant and wishy-washy, and Trey is starting to give up on her because she's not putting out. And Trey is talking about the party. I look over my shoulder, seeing Misha plop down in a seat with his friends. I don't miss the glare he shoots my way. Will there be drinks? I ask, turning back to my table. Of course, lots of drinks. Trey smirks. Well then, maybe that's just what I'm looking for. He smiles, and then the table's like, hell yeah, she's gonna party. And so I'm like, how? Why? I get that you're mad at Misha, but like, what are you talking about, dude? So now you're gonna like purposefully go and spend time with a guy that you don't like, who has made it very clear that he's trying to hook up with you, and you're just gonna go to his house? With people you don't like, that you have admittedly, you don't like any of them? Like, what is happening right now? Cut to the party. Her and Ten, right, the male cheerleader friend guy of hers, they show up to the party. She's not going to drink, so Ten is the only one that's drinking, but, you know, they go through, they're having a good time, partying, dancing, you know, he makes a joke about them hooking up, and she's like, what the heck are you talking about? And he's like, oh, nothing. Ew, why do we have to say that? No, ew, stop it. Chapter 17, from Misha's perspective, he is out. He's with the band. They're having band practice. This is the first time that they have played together since his sister died, and he's having a good time. He's having fun. They're working on their lyrics, and on one of the breaks, he decides that he wants to look up her Instagram and see what Ryan is up to. He sees that she had just gotten tagged at a party, and she got tagged in a video of a guy doing like a body shot off of her. He is instantly enraged. He's like, he knows exactly where she is. She knows that she's at Ryan's house. He's pissed that she would be getting drunk and acting a fool. So all the bandmates hop into his truck. They fly over there. They show up to Trey's house to go and get Ryan. Of course, when they get in there, Trey is there. Trey has all of his buddies kind of walk up on them, wants to pick a fight with Misha, right? So it's Misha, Trey, and then the groupies on either side. Misha is like, Trey, where the is Ryan? Like, where is she at? He's like, I don't know. She's a whore. We might go upstairs. She might be like, you know, getting laid or something. And with that, he punches Trey in the face. Upon doing so, in the middle of their scuffle, he sees that Trey is wearing the watch that he was looking for, right? The reason that he broke into their house before was to get this watch that now Trey is wearing. So in the middle of this scuffle, he whips out a knife and cuts the band of the watch, slides it in his pocket. What the hell? And then the cops come. Oh my god, dude, it's just nonstop. So the cops show up, they break up the fight. He slides the watch into Dane's hand, and then the band members leave through the back. Like, they escape before the cops get to them. And then he stays behind, holding Trey down. Ryan comes up. Ryan is with 10. He realizes that 10 was the one that was doing the body shot off of her. And he's like, and I know that guy, he's probably more attracted to me than to Ryan. So I just got in trouble and I did all this stupid shit for a guy who's not even like attracted to her, and he feels kind of dumb, but he did get his watch back, so that's good, I guess. The cop leads me out of the house, and I look at Ryan. There's a million things I want to say. I'm done here. I'm going home. I'll be anything you want, even gone if that's what you need. I love you. But I just shoot my eyes up to 10, and I tell him make sure she gets home safe. So cut to, he's at the police station. He's not handcuffed or anything. He's not even in a cell. He's just sitting in a chair. I'm thinking his cousin bailed him out, so he's just waiting to be picked up. And Ryan shows up. She's like, hey, was that the watch that you were looking for? He's like, how did you even get here? She's like, I drove. I'm sober. Shut up. Is that the watch that you were looking for, though? And as he goes to explain more, his cousin comes in. His cousin and two other guys. We get their names. We get really detailed descriptions about who they are and what they do. And even though this is marketed as a standalone book, I'm assuming that his cousin and friends are in other books of Penelope Douglas's, and it's just like building up the Penelope Douglas like cinematic universe. I'm not going to get into it because it doesn't matter for the story, though. They bail him out, and then we learn that he is the grandson of a senator in the state. And so of course he gets away with anything, and he just gets let go scotch-free, because that's how it works. At least that's the most accurately portrayed thing in this entire book. So the cousins leave, he leaves, Ryan goes with him. Ultimately, he and Ryan end up, like, making out in the parking lot of the police station. The cousins are watching. He's like, get out of here. They drive off. And then they end up, like, doing it in the parking lot of the police station. Ew, I'm reading through this. I'm trying to find, like, this next part I want to read, and it's just gross. So afterward, he's, like, holding her, and he says, I wish we would have met in grade school. We would have played together so well. On the playground, I mean. I know you now. You wouldn't have wanted this from anyone else, because before me, you had sex once 2 years ago. What the fuck? Why? Hello? Hold on. I'm reading this to you in its entirety. I wish we would have met in grade school, I say quietly, smiling to myself. We would have played well together. On the playground, I mean. She pulls her head up and there's pain in her eyes. I cup her face in my hands. I know you, I tell her. I know you now. You wouldn't have wanted this from anyone else, because before me, you had sex once 2 years ago. That... Again, am I having a stroke? What does that mean? That doesn't flow together. That doesn't make any sense. Like, that came out of nowhere. Everyone told you to do it, and you did, I whisper. He never spoke to you again, and that's why you waited for me. I wasn't waiting for you. You waited for it to feel right, I bite back, not taking any more of her shit. I was jealous when you confided in me about your first time. That was when I realized that I was possessive of you. I stare straight into her eyes, never sure about anything this much. I want everything about you, Ryan, and I know you want me. Her body shakes a little and I lean in, kissing her on the cheek. But I love the way you lie. Quoting fucking Eminem. I don't think that scene makes any sense, right? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Chapter 18, it's the next morning, Ryan's perspective, and he's not in their first class, and she's reflecting about how she's still very, very upset with him and how she shouldn't have done stuff with him the night before. It's just emotions were high, like, you know, she was in the moment, but she kind of regrets it now. Lila and the other girls appear, and they are just, like, catty and talking shit about her to her face. God, did the janitors clean last night? I smell skank everywhere. Can you believe that bitch didn't even bother to show up to practice again this morning? Doesn't matter, I guess. Her fat ass was getting too heavy to catch anyway. And she says, you want to say something? Say it to my face. And they just ignore her. Oh my God. And they go on to talk about prom, and they're like, this night is going to be epic, especially without Ryan there to stink up the car. Like, it's so catty. All through PE, I stay away from them, slowly feeling their bubble getting bigger and pressing me farther away. They're them, and I'm me, over here, separated, alone and excluded. I'm outside the bubble. Again. After class, I shower and dress quickly, heading to my locker before lunch when I really just want to leave. It's easier, isn't it? Rather than facing people I don't like and being where I no longer feel I belong. I've been here before. The uncertainty, the self-hate, the powerlessness, it's all so familiar. But the last time, I took those feelings and I turned them outward, making others feel what I felt. What I didn't see is that those feelings came from people doing the same thing to me. I feel and fear exactly what they want me to feel and fear. I won't respond the same this time. I'm better than this. I'm going to be better. I feel like I just read word salad. I don't know if it's because it's only 8:48, so it's not that it's getting late here, but I feel like I've just been reading too much, and everything is just going to shit. I feel like this book is spiraling out of control right now. She is at lunch, and Lila comes up to her. No one wants you in here. I can't even eat looking at you. She picks up my carton of orange juice, pours it into my lap, and I gasp, the ice-cold drink making me shoot out of my chair as it cascades down my bare legs. She stands up, she pushes Lila away. Her and Lila are about to get into an actual fight when Misha appears and stands between them. Misha appears and stands between the girls. And then Trey appears in front of Lila, right? So it's Lila, Trey, Misha, Ryan. Misha and Trey are about to get into a fight. Trey says, move out of the way. Make me. Trey scoffs, knowing Misha's not kidding, but clearly not ready to take him on here in front of everyone, especially when he got his ass kicked last time. If you want her, you're gonna have to go through me. After school, Trey says, the drive-in. Nah, I'll be busy tonight. So how about we do it now? Misha tosses out calmly and then throws a punch across Trey's face, surprising us all. They go on to continue to have a fist fight. The principal appears magically and is yelling at Mason Misha to knock it off. Misha ignores her and pulls me into the men's bathroom, wetting some paper towels and wringing them out. He pushes me back against the sink and kneels down, lifting my foot and setting it on his thigh. Blah, blah, blah is wiping her up and trying to get the stickiness off of her. He realizes that this isn't working and she's like having a breakdown, and so he takes her out to his truck and drives her to Thunder Bay, like drives her to his home, gets a towel for her, she takes a shower, and then he goes downstairs and like makes them some like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or something while she's getting cleaned up. They hang out at his house. They have some bonding, they chit chat a little bit. She's like, "Why did you stop writing me?" He's like, "It's a story for another day." They end up just laying on his bed kind of awkwardly because she's like, "I don't really know what to say. Like, I do miss him and like blah, blah, blah. This was so sweet of him and he's taking care of me." And so to break the silence, she's thinking to herself, he wants something true, something he doesn't know. I didn't have many friends in grade school. I had one, Delilah. She had this shaggy blonde hair that kind of looked like a mullet, and she wore these frumpy corduroy skirts. They looked 30 years old. She wasn't cool and she didn't dress right. She was alone a lot like me, and we played together at recess, but I got tired of not hanging out with the popular kids. I'd see them hanging on each other, laughing and surrounded by everyone, and I felt envious, left out of something better. I felt like I was being laughed at. Like, I could feel their eyes crawling on my skin. Were they disgusted by me? Why didn't they like me? I shouldn't have cared. I shouldn't have thought that the kids who shunned me would be worth it, but I did. In my head, Delilah was the one that was holding me back, and I needed better friends. So one day I ran off. When recess time came, I hid her on the corner so she wouldn't find me, and I watched her, waiting for her to go off and play with someone else so I could do the same and she wouldn't look for me. But she didn't. She just stood there against the wall, alone, looking awkward and uncomfortable, waiting for me. That was the day I became this. When I started to believe that 100 people's fickle adoration was worth more than one person's love, and for a while it felt kind of good. I was lost in the novelty of it, being mean, slipping in a quick insult, making a joke of others and my teachers. I felt respected, adored. My new skin suited me. But months later, when I'd seen Delilah playing alone, being laughed at, not having anywhere to belong, I started to hate the skin I was comfortable in, the skin of a fake and shallow coward. She goes on to continue to describe how she hated herself for being this way, but that's the only way that she could be accepted by people. And so when she started writing him letters, she felt like she could be her true and authentic self to him. And so that's why she kind of lied about who she was in the letters to him, because that was who she really was when she wasn't trying to be a fake bitch to get accepted. Okay, understandable, I guess, to a degree. I get it. But also, I don't know, maybe just don't turn into a fucking bully. Maybe just don't be a piece of shit. I understand that's the whole point. I get it. I read the thing from Penelope Douglas earlier. We read the author's note. I get it. But also, as a kid who was bullied growing up, I never became a bitch. That's kind of a lie. I'm sure there's some people in high school that would think otherwise. But that was more of I never bullied anybody. I was jealous of people. I completely understand the envy and the feeling left out pieces of it. I totally understand where she's coming from, as a 17-year-old who experienced that, right? I understand the othering feeling. I understand feeling left out. I understand being envious and wanting friends and wanting to put a mask on and disguise who you are and act like a different person and be a chameleon to be accepted by other people and to feel loved. 100% got it. But to become a bully, that's another level. That's another step that I will never fathom. Misha's response to her, though, is kids are mean, and at that age, everyone wants to belong. You think you're the only one who feels like shit, who's made mistakes? We're all ugly, Ryan. The only difference is some hide it and some wear it. It goes on to say, after some more back and forth, alone, empty, fraud, shame, fear, he murmurs, holding me tighter. Don't you get it? You don't have to be afraid or embarrassed. No one does you better than you. You can't be replaced. Not everyone will see that, but only you need to. He kisses my hair and I wrap my arms around his torso. No one does me better than me. I close my eyes again, hearing what he's saying. I changed because I didn't think what I brought to the table was worthy enough. I let them make me believe that. But who made them the authorities? I may no longer be adored, but I might not be so miserable either. And I may eat alone, but that's not such terrible company, is it? There are aspects of this story that I understand, and I understand why people would read this and enjoy it. Got it. he's just such a douchebag to her. Like, he was so mean to her. And she's a bully, and I don't want to feel bad for people. In this book, all it did was make me feel bad. I don't want to read romance that just makes me feel sad inside, I guess is, like, my point. You read dark romance and stuff that doesn't involve... Okay, so let's unpack that, Kaylee. I like reading dark romance, and I love reading books that make me run through the whole, like, gamut of emotions. Make me feel everything. I love feeling sad. I love shedding tears. I love crying. I love laughing. I love feeling love and being warm and fuzzy and happy and elated for a couple. I even like being scared sometimes, being on the edge of my seat. But it always comes back to the fact I don't like when the love interests are mean to each other, I guess. That is like my one boundary in romance. So this was so hard for me to read. You still can't come back from calling her stupid. That's a crazy line. That's crazy, dude. Anyway, she ends up falling asleep. She wakes up to him writing with a Sharpie on her butt because she was the closest thing to paper. They end up having more spice. Chapter 19, Ryan wakes up feeling super sore from all the activities from the nights before. Gross. They go to school, and he gets called to the principal's office. As he's about to go, they have a little bit more dialogue, and she ends up finally bringing up that scarf again, asking whose it was. And he says, Annie's, like it was my sister's. She says, oh my God, Annie, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean what I said, like when he called her a skank. It's okay. I know you didn't know. Well, you couldn't give it to me anyway. She'd want it back. He grows quiet, avoiding my eyes. I totally forgot his sister in all of the drama. She's a junior. Where was she last night? His dad must have come home during my nap because Misha had to lock the door later on so he wouldn't walk in on us, but Annie was never mentioned. But then the principal appears and she's like, hey, like, come to my office. He says, fuck you. And just walks out of the school. He says, meet me at the Cove tonight to Ryan. And then he just walks out of the school and leaves. Principal doesn't go after him. What the fuck? What is this school? What is happening? It's going through her normal school day. It's lunchtime, and as she's like packing up her locker and about to go in there, she sees Trey come out of the men's restroom with a necklace that she knows belongs to Manny because it's like some band necklace or something, and he throws it in the trash and glares at her. And he comes up to her and he says, where's your bodyguard? Oh, that's right. I heard he bailed school. Is he coming back? Get the hell away from me. It's your own fault. You shouldn't be caught alone with me. You've been asking for this. Oh my God. Yep, not talking about what happens, but he makes a very clear threat about what he's going to do to her. Eventually, he makes his threat clear and he leaves. And so then she's like, wait, he had Manny's necklace though. Like, I wonder if Manny is in the bathroom. She goes in there. He is. Dude is bleeding. Like, he got beat up. And so she's trying to talk to him and he's ignoring her because she's one of the bad guys. Like, she is one of his bullies. She keeps calling out to him though. This infuriates me so fucking much. She realizes, like, oh, of course, Manny looks at me, or Manny doesn't want my help. Why would she help? He's probably thinking. He sees me just as dangerous as Trey. He thinks I'll victimize him, and why not? I've done it in the past. Grief fills my heart. How many times have I made him feel alone? I stay rooted, not wanting to make him scared, but I want to help. It won't always be like this. It's always been like this. I stand there thinking back to grade school. Manny and I got along until the 4th grade when I changed. But even before that, he was on the periphery of whatever was happening. He was small and lanky, never picked for sports, and often got in trouble for not turning in assignments. I knew then that he had it a little stressful at home, but other kids didn't understand things like that. They just judge. When I was little, I used to be able to go home and get away from it. But now we're older, we have social media, and everything they say about me during the day, I get to see every night. He's just having a breakdown, right, about how much that he is bullied, and it's not going to get better, and it's always been this way. And she keeps trying to push back, and, you know, he says, my family sees it, my sisters and their friends, I embarrass them. That's why I get high. He pulls out a rag and a spray can out of his backpack, and I move forward, a lump stretching in my throat, as high as I can get, as often as I can get, so I can bear the pain of breathing and eating and looking at people like you. Manny, when everything is painful, he drops the backpack and sprays the inhalant on the rag. You start to ask yourself, what's the point? No one cares, and you start to care even less. You just want the pain to stop. He brings the rag to his nose, and I lunge out, knocking the cloth out of his hand and grabbing the can and throwing it away. And I was like, what the f***? It's not funny. It's not funny. I wasn't expecting some random, like, huffing thing to be happening. What a weird... I'm not going to get into it. That's so strange to me. So then she goes on to think, this is crazy. How can he hurt himself like that? He has to know it gets better. The world will open up and we won't feel so trapped. You just have to hang on. But I look at him, seeing tears coat his face, bags under his eyes, and him staring off. He absently wipes the blood off of his neck, looking completely fucking empty, like he's done hanging on. But just as he looks at me, looking like he's hanging on by a thread, when does it get better? My heart aches. Yeah. When? How long does he have to wait? There should always be hope. We change, our environment changes, our communities change. It will get better, but that doesn't mean we're powerless in the meantime either. I can't change his life, but I can do this. I'm gonna yeet my fucking phone across the room. So she picks up his backpack, grabs his hand, holds his hand as they walk through the lunchroom, gets lunch with him, and sits down with him in the cafeteria like he's doing him a favor. Like she had this come to Jesus moment, and now she's going to be a good person, and she's going to make up for years of bullying because she's going to have lunch with him. That's all it takes. Oh my God. Actually, this part pisses me off even more. Why are you doing this? He asks in a low voice. You don't like me. I've always liked you, and I need a friend. This stupid bitch is only doing this because she ran out of friends. This isn't about Manny. This isn't about her feeling guilty about her actions. This isn't her wanting to change and be a better person. She's only doing this because her friends gave up on her and she has no one else. This is not out of the goodness of her heart. As they go to sit down, somebody throws an apple across the cafeteria. It lands on her tray. Stuff goes everywhere. JD appears, right? Trey's best friend, Lila's boyfriend. JD appears next to them, and he's like, oh, hey, man, helps pick up and helps her clean up. What are you doing? I ask, watching him lean back in the seat next to me. He shrugs, taking my Coke and unscrewing the cap. Well, when your girl screws your best friend, it's time for a new girl and a new best friend, I guess. We like you more anyway, someone says. I turn my head to see 10 taking the seat next to Manny. He looks over at the kid. Hi. Hi, Manny mumbles back. Hey, that's cool, I guess. They're banding together. JD, 10, Manny, and Ryan, right? They're all chilling at the little lunch table together, having a little chit-chat. And JD reveals that he's known that Lila and Trey were sleeping together, and he knew a few days before he did the spray paint. He's the one that did the spray paint on the lawn. At first, I thought that it was Misha kind of doing it as like a subliminal messaging thing or something, or like kind of his way of telling Ryan what was happening without being direct about it. But it was actually JD, which is a baller move. But he stayed with her because he didn't really know what to do, and he didn't want to act on it. But he's like, but when I saw you sticking up for yourself and doing what you just did, you gave me motivation to leave her. And 10 kind of has the same thing. He's like, yeah, we liked you better anyway. And they all kind of suck ass. And it's like, what does it take for you? What is happening? So then JD, Manny, and 10 are talking about prom and how they're just going to band together and go to prom together. And so she wants to pull her phone out to text Misha to ask him to go with her, thinks better of it, and then instead Googles his name. When she Googles his name, she finds the articles about his sister dying. This is the first time that she has learned of this, and she is, like, blown away by what she found out. Chapter 20, from Ryan's perspective, she's driving out to the Cove after school and reflecting on this and realizing, like, oh, like, that must be why Misha moved out of his house. Like, him and his dad are having trouble, like, after losing the sister, like, they're having problems coping. Like, it makes sense now. So she goes through the creepy-ass little tunnel things, finds Misha in his room. He has headphones on. He's, jamming out, whatever. She crawls on top of him, and she says, why didn't you tell me about Annie? I would have. I was just waiting for us to calm down. I heard about it, and I saw the name online, but why did you tell me your last name was Lair? When I heard about a 17-year-old girl who died on Old Point Road from a heart attack, I read her name was Anastasia Grayson. Annie, I gather, is short for Anastasia, but Misha never told me his real last name. Lair is my middle name, he replies, a family name. Everyone in Thunder Bay knows the Graysons, and my grandfather is important. There's always been pressure to act a certain way, but it was so aggravating as a kid. When I started to write you, I saw it as an opportunity to kind of be free, not really thinking that a kid our age probably wouldn't know who Senator Grayson was anyway. I legally changed it to Lair when I turned 18, though. It suits me a lot better. Then he talks about his sister, her death, and how she was like on amphetamines, and that kind of led to her heart attack and how hard it was for him. And he says, I couldn't stomach anything after that. I stopped writing because I couldn't talk about it, but I couldn't talk about anything else either. I couldn't carry on like before, and I couldn't face the reality of her being gone. I felt sick. I needed you, but I just didn't know how to talk to you anymore, or anyone. I changed. They have a little more back and forth, a little bit more banter, and he says, I think it's time that I met your mom. She says, okay, fine, but afterward, I have a favor to ask. Ask me now. I'll tell you in the truck. It's kind of illegal. What the hell are you gonna do, girl? Chapter 21, Ryan's perspective. They're going to prom, and she has a duffel bag full of spray cans, and so he comes by to pick her up. Her mom and sister really, really like Misha. He's nice, he's a gentleman, whatever. They take some cute prom photos, and then the limo pulls up. She goes to get in the limo with 10, JD, and Manny. She thinks that Misha is about to get in, but he doesn't. He instead hops in his truck, and he's like, I'll meet you there. So they take the limo to the school. So they all get to the prom. Manny and 10 are hitting it off. They're at a table kind of talking, kind of flirting. She's clocking it. She's like, ooh. JD and Ryan are dancing on the dance floor together. They're waiting for Misha. He's just off doing whatever, God knows what. So they're dancing together when they get confronted by Lila and Trey. Lila and Trey are like, whoa, hey, how's it going? He says, you skip around pretty fast, girl. I like it. Come on, JD. You take mine for a spin. I take yours for a spin. We can share. JD gets defensive. He's like, you stay away from her, blah, blah, blah. It's very stupid. Again, very just like pissing contest grossness. I just don't like it. Just then, a voice rings out and I stop. Thanks for letting us intrude, everyone, Misha says, and I blink, realizing the music has stopped. His band performs a song. His band interrupts prom to sing a song. Nobody knows who Misha is, by the way, right? Because they all thought that he was this other dude, Mason. So nobody knows that he's a singer. Nobody knows he has a band. This is his like grand reveal to the high school that he is a singer, and he's singing this song directly to Ryan. I'm going to read you the lyrics to the song because I've been skipping it because it makes me cringe so bad, but I feel like you need to witness this. Anything goes when everyone knows. Where do you hide when the highs are your lows? So much, so hard, so long, so tired. Let them eat until you're ground into nothing. Don't you worry your glossy little lips. What they savor eventually loses its flavor. I want to lick while you still taste like you. Bookmark it, says the cheerleader. I promise we'll come back to the spot. I have shit to do first. You won't wait a lot. I can't make her stay and I can't watch her go. I'll keep her hellfire heart and bookmark it before it gets cold. 57 times I didn't call. 57 letters I didn't send. 57 stitches to breathe again and then I fucking pretend. 57 days to not need you, 57 times to give up on you, 57 steps away from you, 57 nights of nothing but you. His eyes are closed and his face is so beautiful. Everything inside me is crumbling because this is the most perfect song I've ever heard and I want him to keep going. When did he write that? When were we fighting? Before we met? It was 57 days between his sister dying and then him meeting her again at the high school. That's why it's Punk 57, she's Punk, and then the 57. You get it. He finishes his song. They get off stage. She says, I want to get out of here and go and do the other thing that we talked about doing. So they go to leave. They tell JD, 10, and Manny that they're leaving, and if they ask if they want to come with. They decide to. So the 5 of them pile into his truck. The illegal activity that they're going to do is break into the school and spray paint it. Like she's doing her final act as Punk. And so she tells the boys this, and they are all baffled that she's the one. Like 10 is blown away by it, JD's impressed by it, and Manny is touched. Because before, when she had mentioned how like the first time that she was ever Punk, she wrote on Sharpie on a kid's locker and it was like a direct message. She wrote a message to Manny saying like, don't give up, you're worth it, blah blah blah, some like encouraging shit. And then based off of his reaction to it, that's why she became Punk and started writing more and more. So this is her final act, the final act of defiance. They all pick a spray paint color, break into the school, and mark up everything. But she tells them, all right, I dig in the bag, doling out the cans and reminding them to stick to surfaces that can be easily cleaned, stay away from screens, posters, artwork, and uniforms, or clothes in the locker rooms. To which I love ethical vandalism. Like, if you're going to do it, at least be good about it. Like, don't make the janitor's life hard, you know what I mean? I love ethical vandalism. What they all decide to do is pretty much out Trey. They all write quotes that Trey has said to them. The F slur, threatening to, like, assault her, assaulting other people, like, just, like, quotes and quotes and quotes of different things that he said and outing him for being, like, such a shitty person. The next day, all of the student body is seeing what's happening, and all of them start writing on the walls about all the horrible things that Trey has done and said and that other people have done and said. And so by the time they get to, like, second period, the cops show up. They're like, the cops wouldn't be here for some vandalism. No, the cops are there because several girls are in the office ratting him out. I guess the posts got to them. So she says to Misha, like, you should really go. But just then, Principal Burrows approaches us, and my heart skips a beat. Mr. Laurent, come with me now. He stares at her for a moment, but I jump in. Why? I think he knows why. He hesitates for a moment, and I think he's going to fight like last time, but he doesn't. He takes a step. No, I burst out. He didn't do anything. It's okay, he assures me under his breath. But the principal interjects, looking at me. I show you on the log as the last person other than the janitor to sign out and leave school Friday evening. Now, that's not unusual since you stay late to teach swim lessons, but then it occurred to me that you have a key. And then I remembered the company that you've suddenly been keeping. Did you take her key? No, I answer for him. Yes, he says. It's okay, I'll be fine. She leads him away, and I throw out my hands, feeling helpless. Why didn't he just walk out like last time? He doesn't have to protect me, and he knows I won't let him take the fall. What is he doing? Chapter 22. Misha. He goes to the principal's office. She's like, I tried calling all of the phone numbers on your record, like all the phone numbers that are listed here. None of them work, or they all say that it's the wrong number. I've been trying to contact your parents because of all the fights that you've been in and all this like horrible stuff that you've been doing. Like, give me a phone number right now for your parent, or I will call the police on you. This is it. He rattles off the number. She dials it. What's his name? She punches the numbers in. His real name. I hear the line start ringing and my heart pounds painfully, but I remain stoic. Matthew Lair Grayson. She suddenly goes still and darts her eyes up to me. Her breathing speeds up and she looks like she's seen a ghost. Well, she remembers his name. That's something at least. My father's voice comes across the line. Hello? She looks back down. I see her swallow the lump in her throat, blinking nervously. Matthew? Jill? She hangs up the phone like it's burning hot and covers her mouth with her hand. I almost want to smile just to add to the taunt. She raises her eyes, locking on mine, looking like she's scared of me. Misha? Yep. And awesome. She remembers my name. 2 points for Mom. Now she knows. Me choosing to come to this school and to sit in this office had nothing to do with Trey. It was about her. What do you want? What do I want? What do I want? I guess I wanted a mom. I wanted a... Oh my God. I might actually cry at this. I guess I wanted a mom. I wanted a family. I wanted you to see me play guitar. I wanted to see you Christmas morning and for you to smile at me and miss me and hold my sister when she was sad or lonely or scared. I wanted you to like us. I wanted you to tell my father that he was a good guy who deserved better than you and that he should stop waiting for you. I wanted you to tell us to stop waiting. I wanted to see you. I wanted to figure you out. I wanted to understand why my sister died of a heart attack at 17 years old because she was taking drugs to keep her awake, to study, to be the perfect daughter, athlete, and student, so you would come back and be proud of her and want her. I study her face, seeing Annie's brown eyes staring back, pained and turning red. I wanted to understand why you didn't come to your own child's funeral. Your baby who is lying on a dark, wet, cold road for hours alone while your new kids, in your new house... He's shoving pictures off the wall, emphasizing each of these statements. With your new husband, the last picture frame falls to the ground. We're all tucked safe and warm in their beds, but not Annie. She was dying alone, never having felt her mother's arms around her. She's just sobbing, right? Not really saying anything to this. Now, I don't want any of those things. I just want my sister back. And I want you to tell me something before I leave, something I need to hear. I want you to tell me that you were never going to look for us. Her teary eyes shoot up to me. Yeah. I might have convinced myself that I came here to collect the photo album of my sister's school pictures and newspaper clippings that Annie said that she mailed her here that I found in the file cabinet and my grandfather's watch. But really, part of me had a shred of hope. Part of me thought she still might be a good person and have an explanation. A way to tell me why, even in death, Annie's mom still didn't come for her. I want you to tell me you don't regret leaving and you haven't thought about us a single day since you left. You were happier without us and you don't want us. Misha, say it. Let me leave here free of you. Give me that. I'm happier since I left, she sobs. I never think about you and Annie. I'm happier without you. She breaks down as if the words are painful to say. The sadness creeps up my throat and I feel tears threatening, but I stand up, straighten my spine, and look down at her. Thank you. And then he just gets up and leaves. What the fuck? Also, I didn't say earlier, so the whole watch thing, it was his grandfather's watch that was meant to be, like, handed down to the, like, firstborn son or something, or, like, at their wedding. It's some, like, family heirloom that when she left, she took it, and then he thought that she took it just to, like, pawn it off, but it turns out she gave it to Trey, and that pissed him off extra bad, because he's like, that shit's mine. And so that's why he got the watch back. To be frank, that's pretty much the end of the book. He did everything that he needed to do. Like, he got all the stuff back. He also, by the way, he already had enough credits to graduate. That's why he's kind of like fucking off at the school. He just like pretended to transfer just to get this information and stuff from his like mom, which is crazy, by the way. That's a crazy twist. And then he and Ryan talk about going to college, which I was really impressed by, because she was like, yeah, I'm turning my phone off. We're going off the cuff for this last bit. She's like, yeah, I'm graduating, you know, I got these like really high scores and I did really well in school. Like, I'm gonna go to like Cornell. She's like, I'm gonna do that. You're gonna go on your band tour. Like, we've been doing long distance for 7 years anyway. I think we can last a little bit longer so we can each pursue our own dreams. I was so impressed by that. I was like, I love that idea. Like, thank you. Like, I love that. Like, let's end a book on such a positive note. It lasts all of like one semester. And then he shows up at her apartment and he's like, just kidding, I can't be without you. We did the tour and I can't do it anymore. So I'm gonna quit the band and I'm gonna move in with you. And also Dane's here. Anywhere I go, he goes. So we're all just gonna be roommates. Like, what the fuck? And that's where it ends. They live happily ever after. They finally get together. What a weird book. What a weird book. Like I said, the premise, how do I feel? I like the idea of it. I like the idea of writing a heroine that people aren't meant to like. But also, to me, there is no redeeming. There was no growth on her part. There was no like, oh, I'm such a better person now. It's like, no, bitch, you were forced to befriend the kid that you tortured because you got rejected by people. Like, you didn't make that decision wasn't made of your own volition. You were pigeonholed and forced into being a better person. So, like, there's no character growth there, in my opinion. And then again, we're back to the whole thing. I don't like the bullying. I don't like reading about 18-year-olds. I don't like how mean he was to her. That was so uncalled for. I get it. She was being a horrible person, but like, goddamn, dude, that went a little far, especially threatening her and like cutting her hair and stuff. Oh my God. It's like crazy, dude. But again, the sentiment and some of the sentiments of like feeling left out, I get why people would find that appealing and identify with the character and identify with the book and think that it was good. I don't blame people for feeling that way. It's just weird. The book was just so weird. And Misha, like we talked about, was just so rude for no reason. His stuff just makes no sense to me. I don't understand him as a character. The whole school thing didn't even make any sense. Why did we have a shitty, abusive boyfriend? She had that in Birthday Girl too, where in Birthday Girl she was dating a boyfriend and was kind of cheating on him with the guy's dad. This kind of felt the same way. She kind of had a boyfriend she was kind of cheating on. Then don't have the boyfriend in the book at all? We're just like cheating adjacent in both books, which is kind of interesting. I'm like, how common of a theme is that in Penelope's writings? It's just, it's odd. Everything is so odd. I don't know how I feel, man. I'm just not very impressed. I'm still not totally convinced on Penelope Douglas. I don't know. That's all I have, I guess. That sure was a book. Let me know your thoughts down below if there's any other books that you would like to see me rant review. If you would like to become a channel member, that is an option. You get early access to my videos, as well as a couple other membership perks. And like I said, all my stuff's uploaded on Spotify now, so if you want to watch these videos on Spotify, if that's like easier or more accessible for you, you now have that option. The link is in the description box below. Oh yeah, make sure that you vote on my polls on Fridays or Saturdays. I post one to see what you guys want to see me review next, so make sure that you engage in that. And otherwise, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!